Live from the Findlay Toyota studio, you're listening to ESPN Las Vegas.
All right, here we go. Cofield and Company here on a Monday. Willie Ramirez is here. James is here. Big show on the way. We'll check in on the Raiders situation with Ashton Genty and what happened yesterday at practice. Jesse Merrick will join us in about an hour and a half. We just followed up. David Dennis Jr., that guy's interesting. We got to have a different sort of discourse when we talk about Deshaun Watson and the Browns, so that's coming up as well. That's just yelling about it and accusing the Browns of starting a crappier quarterback to stick it to the fans is dumb, which means that in all likelihood, that's probably a person who's not facing coaches and athletes very much on a regular basis, so we'll get to that. But, we got to start out with the flow of information here on a Monday and the way we are being fed our information. And this is not an attack on all of the media. I hate when you guys out there do that and lump us in. And we make mistakes too, but everyone does not get lumped together. It's not homogenous. Also, traditional media is not the same as content creators. There are different types of content creators. I just saw something really interesting to build on with the Ashton Genty story, Willie. RJ, LVRJ, tweets out a story, headline, Nevada is one of the worst places to live in the country according to a new study. And then they've got their new approach is to have a picture, and then they've got their white lettering on the bottom. So Nevada is one of the worst places to live in the country according to a new study.
You know where I get those emails? I get those on the email that's set up to my personal website.
Right.
I get tons of those. And it's always – but here's the thing.
What do you do with them?
I lump them in a hit select all and trash them.
Exactly. I was waiting for you to ask me what are the reasons. I'm not clicking on this. I will never click on this. Mike Blasky, who used to work at the paper, retweeted it a little while ago. He said, the editor who assigned this story is a true hack who should be embarrassed to work in news. If you want to clickbait your own hometown with, quote, Wallet Hub PR pitches, why not just go sell out and work for one of those soul-sucking companies and make enough money to move away? Loser.
Here's the thing that I don't think a lot of people realize is I think that when those studies come out by those PR firms, those marketing research firms, they're assigned regions. So you work for a marketing firm and you're assigned to the Southwest region. You've got Cofield, you've got California, Arizona, Nevada, New Mexico. And so guess what your job is to do when you send that email out? Nevada, what does it say? Ranks da-da-da-da-da.
Yep.
Next email to the next group of media. California ranks da-da-da. Just like, perfect example, just like I got an email sitting in my inbox from NHL Network, I think, and they ranked the top 20 wings going into the season, the top 20 centers. Guess what the subject line and headline is to the subject I got? Jack Eichel ranked in the top because they wanted to catch my eye. So if I want to write it for whoever I'm writing for, and then whoever that person is that's in charge of that list, that media list, she's sending out to the different markets. She's going to change the subject and the headline tailored to that media member.
Well, we could be better than that. Headline in the California Post, new startup, New York Post offshoot in L.A. Ashton Genty picture.
Oof.
This morning. Season may be up in smoke for top Raiders running back after serious knee injury. Big header. Ashton to ashes. Is it a serious injury?
Apparently
Did we get
not.
another update? This was at 8:06 this morning.
Well, right, but they went to print sometime last night, so they're not going to reverse the print. And it's like the what was that movie with Glenn Close and Michael Keaton? We'll be right tonight, or we'll be whatever it was. The headline, they want to sell papers. Apparently, it's a sprained ankle, and he's not supposed to miss that much time. And that came out from several members, from the local, and I'm not going to sit here and give credit to anybody one particular, but from there all the way to national, to somebody who was a guest on a national talk show today. Yeah, it's just doesn't look like he'll miss much time. But you know what? That'll sell papers, or that'll get clicks. And that's what their job's to do.
Vinny, former RJ reporter. Vinny, current R&R 920 host. Vinny. What did you say to me right before the show?
I said that's Vinny's story, but he doesn't write the headline. He doesn't design the paper.
Headline last night, 5:47 Raiders running back Ashton Jeanty suffers ankle injury, helped off field as stunned team looks on.
I was looking at that subhead. Season may be up in smoke for top Raiders running back after serious knee injury. That's the Ashton to Ashes. They got to get catchy, but it's that subhead that just is bad. So whoever the editor and the page designer is back on the desk decided to run with that. I don't know when did they actually clarify that it was the ankle? Do you remember? Because I don't know if it would have been in time for print. Most deadlines for print, 8, 9 o'clock p.m.
All right, well, we'll get more updates on it.
We'll find
from
out.
Jesse Merrick a little later. Jesse covering the Raiders on a day-to-day basis. Fernando Mania continues. You got a little sliced and diced, but I saw him mostly apologizing. Not apologizing. Mostly giving him a soft landing for the pick six and the 42.6 rating on Thursday night. What do you think?
Rookie mistake. I mean, here, let me ask you this: if it would have happened in the first game, and he would have had the first game that he had, if he had done the second game, what would have been different? Nothing. Just the weeks that it happened, and it's a preseason. Guess what? It doesn't count.
Yep.
Iron it out and straighten out the wrinkles. No big deal.
2 Thursdays, check that. 2 Fridays I came in. 2 Fridays back I came in. Didn't go way too high over his performance, which was pretty solid. This last Friday, didn't go ballistic and get too low. Again, it's the preseason. Whatever he does in this week's game doesn't matter much. That's what these games are for. You're going to make mistakes. Now, I do believe, and we've said this for a while now, that once again does show us, though, that he is a project. He is weeks and weeks and weeks away from being the starting quarterback, if not months. And they've told you that repeatedly. So there is no reason not to believe Mike Sullivan and Janocko and Kubiak and Spytek.
Because of this performance?
No, I just think for people who have been sky high about Mendoza, maybe this is a little sobering moment. Like, hey, this is a rookie moment. He threw a terrible pick six, did not look off the linebacker at all, trailed. He said he went through his progressions. I didn't see him doing it. He looked like he trailed the running back. In this case, Washington going across the middle. He watched them the whole time. These are all things he needs to work on.
I was just thinking because the way you had presented it, this just goes to show that he's a work in project. Well, there's going to be starters that look like that this week.
There's going to be starters opening week of
of the regular season
because they don't play in the preseason, and I don't blame them for not playing them in the preseason. But there's going to be some rusty dudes the first couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But Kirk Cousins is way ahead of Fernando Mendoza.
Yes.
And this insistence the last 2 months to say that the gap is small, sort of as I will tell you later on the show, the gap is so much bigger than you realize between Deshaun Watson and Shedeur Sanders. And for people to misrepresent that situation, they're like, there's no difference between them. There is. There is. There just is. And yes, you can criticize coaching. You can criticize organizations for certain decisions. I'm not going to do it at the beginning of the season on a quarterback decision. They are there. They are paid to be the experts. They see these players all the time. It is silly on our part to sit here and say, we know that Sanders is this far away, real close, from Deshaun Watson, or that Mendoza is this far away from Kirk Cousins. They're not. There is a sizable gap.
Do you think, though, and I know we're going to talk about that. I know you already said we're going to talk about this, but I do think there's a big difference between Kirk Cousins and Mendoza and Deshaun Watson and Shedeur Sanders in that when they said, hey, going into camp, there's a quarterback competition. Here, the way that Kubiak mentioned it's his job to lose, it's this. We knew that Kirk Cousins was getting the starting job, bottom line. Mm-hmm. Something took place these last couple of weeks. Something happened for them to say, Deshaun Watson, boom. He's the starter.
Nothing happened. Here's the comparison. Kirk Cousins, we don't have to argue over the number, right? just to illustrate. Kirk Cousins is the 24th best quarterback in the NFL. Mendoza may right now be the 67th.
Okay.
Right? Deshaun Watson is the 35th best quarterback in the NFL. Not even starter quality. Shedeur Sanders is 90th.
Okay.
Shedeur is barely a third stringer in the league. He was terrible last year. The gap's gigantic. And Deshaun is not good. That's how bad Shedeur is. He's not an NFL quarterback. And this hangover that we have from the draft and from him being overhyped on a two-man team at Colorado, we got to let it go. Okay? He didn't get screwed in the draft. The entire league passed on him over and over and over again.
2 more overs.
And then when he played, you're right, 5th rounder. And then when he played, there wasn't much to work with. He's not good. He's barely an NFL quarterback. And you're right, Deshaun is not a great quarterback. He's not even a starting quarterback in the NFL. But if we were going to rank all the quarterbacks, actually would be, you'd have a nice, viable argument if Deshaun Watson was beating out Aiden O'Connell. Because Aiden O'Connell might be the 45th best quarterback in the National Football League, 34 to 45.
I would say right now Aiden O'Connell is probably the safer backup to Kirk Cousins than Fernando.
That was a point I laid out all day on Friday, that AOC should be the 2 for the first 5 or 6 weeks of the season, not Mendoza. Yeah. Nothing against Mendoza.
No, not at all. It's nice to have that option as your project. You know what I mean? That's because the potential's there based off the poise and maturity, the mindset, the patience that this young man has. He knows that's the problem with a lot of young athletes, whether it doesn't matter what league, what sport. They want it now. When you look at the money that's being made by athletes off the rip, what's the rush? You're getting paid. This kid's got all the patience in the world. That's the beauty of this for this organization, is this kid's not rushing things. That's what I like most about him.
And I understand the other part of this. Emotions come in. Let's do more rankings, right?
Okay.
Top 5 most likable quarterback in the National Football League, Fernando Mendoza. 96th most likable quarterback in the NFL right now, Deshaun Watson. I get it. People don't like him. And then he made some statements over the weekend. I didn't think it was a big deal, but people get, it warms their cockles. They get all worked up. So emotion starts to enter into it. But, boy, what a crazy narrative today that we have to act like we're shocked that Shedeur Sanders is not going to be the starting quarterback in Cleveland because Deshaun Watson is better, and he is. Now, on the likable thing, that's another reason I think people are willing to give Mendoza a soft landing. They also really want him to play. They want him to be the focal point, the centerpiece for the Raiders because it's a cool story to cover. Here he is on Thursday night where he's doing an interview on the field, and he starts to talk about the elders up in the booth.
Please do. And please tell Mr. Buck I say hello.
Oh, we love it. There you go. What about Mr. Aikman?
Oh, of course. I mean, he's a legend, I think Mr. Buck needs some more love because, Mr. Aikman's already,
Well said, Fernando. You nailed it.
Thank you. God bless.
Back to you guys.
See, there it is. Back to Mr. Buck. That's the stuff. I mean, he is unique. And, I'll take that. We'll take the love from Fernando Mendoza. And he says all the right things. Sometimes it's very vanilla, but boy, does he think he represents himself really, really well.
Giddy, giddy, giddy. They are happy.
And what was it?
He's a nice kid.
What was the thing that I pointed out after the first game that out of all the things that stood out to me in that post-game press conference when he was talking about things and talking about getting the jitters out, I asked the question, and he said, you come in with a certain level of confidence, this, that, and then we have our pregame meeting with Mr. Brady. And I said that. Huh. Everybody, Paul Gutierrez, our guy, he looks at me, he says, or we go back upstairs, and he sits next to me, and he goes, he calls me Mr. Gutierrez in the back. So, I mean, this dude, talk like he's a kid in a candy store. He's woken up on Christmas morning. He's an NFL football player. He's the number 1 overall pick. And at some point, they're going to go, here you go, and I'm digging in my pocket. Here's the keys to the car. It's all yours. He is not impatient at all. He's got the driver's permit. At some point, he'll get the license.
What was your first car?
Volkswagen Bug, 68.
Okay. At the time, what car was a parent driving? Like what did your parents have? I don't know if they were split at that point or what the deal was. But
No. My mom was driving. She hadn't transitioned yet to her new car, but so she was driving like a Thunderbird, an old school Thunderbird, and my stepdad was driving a truck because he was shoeing horses.
Right. But you got to use the Bug. You're not going to get to drive the Thunderbird. When I got my first car, I was given a hand-me-down. It was actually very nice. I think I paid maybe $600 for it. It was a 76 Chevette, right? Okay. The Delta 88 that was brand new in the driveway, I didn't get to drive that for a while. So to draw the analogy of the keys to the car, you don't get the keys to the Raiders right away. You got to drive the junker a little bit behind the scenes and be the 2 or the 3. Okay.
What's crazy is I'd really love to get a Bug, a 68 Bug these days.
Right now you want it.
Yes.
I don't want a Chevette. Trust me. I don't think any exist. They're in junkyards. Some are being crushed. So the likability thing is a big deal, and we kind of have to sift through it. And I know I've been like a raging lunatic about the national media and telling them, "Hey, stop with Mendoza for now." Here's a good example. This is going to go on and on, but the reason it's long is because Adam Shine has been in this love fest with Mendoza. Mendoza speaks, and then Shine reacts.
I would say I would classify jitters as over the top. Evidently, you're always feeling your nervous system activating. However, today I thought I saw it very well, and evidently there was one unfortunate play, but even that play I thought I saw it well, just didn't make the right throw.
That, of course, is Fernando Mendoza discussing his first NFL interception, which is also his first pick six. That was officially his welcome to the NFL moment, and the optics on it, not pretty. I mean, it's a Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, ESPN special, national TV. He's trying to check down, throw over the middle. Bam! It's a pick six. Let me tell you something. I think last night was another example of why Fernando Mendoza should start week 1. I thought the way he responded after that pick six was absolutely sensational. The way he was able to calm his nerves. The way Max Crosby went right over to him and said, "Kid, you're going to be okay." I absolutely love what Clint Kubiak had to say after the game because it was a perfect opportunity, and the messaging has been Kirk Cousins, veteran quarterback. Mendoza needs time. But after the game, Clint Kubiak said, no decision has been made at the quarterback position. Whoa, that's some news we could use, especially someone like me who has been saying since the Raiders got the number 1 pick of the draft, it's got to be Mendoza, and Mendoza has to start week number 1.
Go ahead.
You're looking at me like you are going to rip his head off. It's his thing.
Yeah.
I knew when Kubiak said a starter hasn't been decided that there'd be people who would be like, see? Okay, we sat in front of Dan Mullen today, and 4 different ways it was asked, who is starting the game this week against Memphis? And he kept saying the same thing. He's like, I don't know what the first play is going to be. Have no idea who's going to start. And then Ray Brewer tried to follow up, and because Ray was like, all right, we get it. You said you don't know the first play. And then Mullen's like, I don't know the second play. Like, this is what coaches do.
Yeah.
On the starting quarterback thing.
He knows.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
They've known all along they're starting Kirk Cousins. By the way, the notion that, Fernando calmed his nerves. Yeah, you know who else is really good at calming his nerves right after a game? Unless he's going to, scream like that, is 100-year-old Kirk Cousins. He's pretty calm, too. Please stop.
And here's why this is going to, okay. It's good that he got the pick six out of the way now.
Yes.
Not saying, well, because now he's never going to have to do it because he's going to learn from that. It's the feeling that he had after throwing it and how to handle it and what comes after that. So when he throws one in the regular season, it's not going to be anything new. He's not going to have to try to figure out. Like, let's just say that he had an incredible preseason. You're going to have all those people going, he should be starting, not Kirk Cousins. Where we could be going, well, yeah, but he also played against second and third stringers. It's good that he's making some of these so he can experience what he's going to experience in the regular season and go, at least I know how to handle it.
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas.
Willie, when's the last time you were over by Allegiant?
Couple days ago.
Yeah. Did you start to envision what they're trying to build in front on the, I guess, northern end of the parking lot?
No, and I won't. I'm not. I mean, just send me the renderings and I'll look at it there. Like, I'm not going to go picture it. But.
They're out. Yeah, they're out. $158 million grand entrance, and then some sort of, I don't know if I would call it an auditorium, but a space, an event space.
Yeah.
Raiders want $75 million from the public. The reaction in the market was pretty strong. You know where I'll tell you the reaction was even stronger? Outside the market. Because they're like, saw a bunch of comments like, isn't this stadium brand new? What do you mean renovations?
Remind me again, Steve, when it opened, right? So obviously it opened 2020, COVID year. They couldn't make any revenue off of attendance or concessions. We know that. But didn't we get an initial report the first year where, after the first year with concerts and sports, everything involved, that they were ahead a high percentage, like faster pace than they expected in getting the loan paid off? I mean, I'm not looking for specific numbers, but in 2021. So now we're in 2026.
They were trending ahead initially, and that's why there's a waterfall fund, and they have access to the waterfall fund. We talked to Justin Watkins last week, and Justin said this was part of the original bill. This is what the legislators have voted for and agreed to, that there would be this extra money, if it's there, that the Raiders could lean into it. Now, I do think it's interesting. This isn't exactly a renovation. It's a new build-out for the stadium.
Exactly.
So I think that's where a discussion can be had. Now, we know the discussion is not going to be had by folks. Like, I saw some of the employees of the Raiders who do shows over on Raider Nation Radio 920, like, screaming at fans.
Yes.
Like, I don't know that we need to scream at fans. I think you can explain what the deal is here, that this is part of the original legislation.
Two-part.
And they can lean into it.
Yeah.
And grab money. I mean, outside the market, I saw they built this thing 5 minutes ago. How does it already need $158 million spent on it? Another one, $158 million in improvements for a stadium that only opened 6 years ago as a choice. It's not on the stadium. It's on the grounds. It's an entrance and an event space, and then whatever, better access for rideshare. It doesn't sound like it's urgent. Will it improve the stadium experience? I guess. I do think the other part of this, though, is that waterfall fund and their access to it. The flip side of this is publicly we did pay for the stadium. We're going to throw more money at the improvements. And people have said, but there are a lot of people in the city and the state who can't afford to go to games.
The 8 home games.
The Raiders games. Now,
right.
Can you afford to get a $36 ticket to sit upstairs for Guns N' Roses? I guess. Like, there's other events we can enjoy there, but Raiders games are pretty tough. And even when they're not sold out, because it's such a sham on the ticket reselling sites, you can't even get the tickets cheap up there many times because they won't lower the prices. Like, I've had a couple times I've gone and bought tickets and still paid, $175 to get in, and then you're in there and you're like, there's 41,000 people here. I got hosed. But that's not the Raiders' fault.
It's not the Raiders' fault, and the improvement is on the stadium for all the events that's going to take place, not just the Raiders. So, twofold, you mentioned in explaining to those that don't understand the waterfall fund, but as you said, it's funny because they keep commenting, improvements already? What could be wrong with it? Maybe the words were wrong, but because when you think of improving, they're thinking fixing. Mm-hmm. What could have gone wrong? What are they fixing? No, they're enhancing, they're upgrading, they're doing more things to it. And let's face it, they started building this almost 10 years ago, and we've seen times change where when they built T-Mobile Arena, they built it with the thought process of NBA as well. Right. But the Golden Knights just started in 2017-18, so that's what? We're going into the 10th season. Right. They don't even want that. They want their own stadium.
Well, I was going to say, tell people, though, about T-Mobile, like you compare the Raiders building something out for $158 million and asking for $75 from the public. Foley has said, if we get an NBA team, we need $300 million in renovations. Now, he hasn't said, I want public money.
No.
But that's a brand new arena, and they think they need $300 million in renovations.
Now back to Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas.
All right, let's get into a little boxing. Also, college football week 0. 5 days away, week 1. Obviously, shortly after that, that's when the rest of college football will start up. UNLV plays this weekend at Allegiant Stadium against Memphis. And meanwhile, rosters are in flux, so we'll get to that. It's pretty crazy stuff going on with the courts and 5-5 stuff as players are moving all over the place and coming back from the NFL. But let's start on boxing. Steve Kim is with us with Willie and Cofield. Steve, what's going on, buddy?
Gentlemen, good Monday to you.
So let's talk about Teofimo Lopez and Rolly Romero. First of all, what was the reaction like here in town? What did the crowd look like? Before we break down the fight, how did it go?
Well, I didn't actually go. I don't find most fights worthy of my time or coverage anymore. I watched it. And by the way, Steve, from the days you and I used to see each other on press row, that press row is no longer ringside. I think the media is being pushed further and further out. So, when people say, well, those guys are there, yeah, I'm not so sure they have a better vantage point than the person watching at home. But the fight was what it was. I wrote a tweet about it. I wrote something on my Substack where I thought that the fight itself was kind of emblematic of today's, I would say, rather mediocre level of combat and skill and action that is provided by the modern-day fighter. I'm not saying it's the worst fight in the world, certainly far from the best, but as soon as the fight ends, it's forgettable. Like, I don't think I'd ever watch it again, to be honest with you. And that's unfortunate because that is becoming more and more the norm.
Yeah. Well, I think they've trained some fight fans to kind of lower their expectations. I heard on our sister station, one of the national shows on Fox Sports, National was saying, pretty decent fight. Wasn't the most exciting, but pretty decent fight. I was like, wow, that's all you really look for now in a championship fight, is that it was a decent fight?
Well, Steve, beyond being a championship fight, it's one that the general public, if they did not attend, had to pay $80 from behind a paywall.
Yep.
So it's not as if we're watching USA's Tuesday night fights or ESPN's Friday night fights or even something that's just on premium cable like it used to be with HBO and Showtime. So when people say, well, it's not fair to compare past fights with this one, I say, well, maybe you're right because the caliber of fighters are not the same. But you are actually probably charging a lot more than you did back then. Because, Steve, when I first got into this business, let's go even further back, when we were growing up as childs of the 80s, early 90s, when the fight was a pay-per-view event, wasn't there a connotation that you're really getting something elite, the creme de la creme of boxing?
Yep. And now you just pay for
anymore, though.
Yeah, you pay for basic access. I mean, Rolly Romero landed an average of 6 punches a round for a 12-round fight. And then what was his behavior after the fight in the ring? Did he not even answer questions?
Yeah, he's an oddball. That was a collision of two oddballs, and I don't know how – some would say it's colorful. I would say it's kind of cringeworthy. But today's fighters, I just don't look at them as the same. It's hard. Like I said in that tweet, I also put, if you were somebody who grew up watching or knowing about Ray Leonard, Thomas Hearn, Marvin Hagler, Roberto Duran, and then the generation after, Pacquiao, De La Hoya, Mayweather, Barrera, Morales, Winky Wright, Bernard Hopkins, James Toney, for me, was a personal favorite. If you saw that, what you're seeing today is just going to pale in comparison in every way. Now, if you're a younger generation and you don't have any real concept of it, right, maybe this stuff is good for you. But ask yourself this, Steve. Remember the Legendary Night series on HBO about 25 years ago?
Sure.
Do you remember that?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. How many fights today do you think would be worthy of a Legendary Nights type of documentary feature?
I'll take it. I want to take it a step further because you talked about meaning something when you ordered a pay-per-view, when you went to a fight, and you just brought up some heavy names that I remember, in in the 80s, graduating high school and just going to Caesar's Palace, Steve, if you didn't have a ticket, you were in the parking lot outside the structure, and you're seeing people go in, and they'd say, hey, you going in? And you're like, we're here, we're having drinks, da-da-da-da. Whether you're going in or not, you act as if you're going in, and then, we'll see you in there, and you never really were going in. But you know what else? It's almost like when I compare the nightlife in Las Vegas, the shows where entertainers came in for 2 weeks and they put on 2 shows a night, the dinner show, the late show. You wore a suit, you got dressed up. There were more people dressed up for the night to go to a boxing match in the 80s and early 90s than there were casually dressed. They made an event out of it. Now you're showing up in flip-flops and you just came from the pool, or you're drinking, you're on the craps table. Oh man, we got to get to the fight. Nobody cares. So it's not just the boxing, it's the fans as well. Everything has deteriorated and it sucks.
Yeah, and Willie, by the way, a couple people commented to me on Twitter that the arena, the T-Mobile on Saturday, was unusually cold. If you were
getting that ice ready.
And I'm thinking, well, it is an ice hockey rink, right? That's what it's really best known for. But I don't ever remember it being cold. But, Willie, there used to be a time, and you can look this up on YouTube because I've actually watched a lot of these things. Boxing was so big when we were growing up in the 80s that the fights that we talk about with the Four Kings, that national shows on terrestrial television like Today and Good Morning America, those major morning shows, they would actually, if not set up their studios or a remote from the cities of the fight, usually Las Vegas, but they would actually do segments on the fights.
Yeah.
For 10, 15 minutes, and they'd bring in both trainers, and then after the fight, both fighters would have to wake up really early in the morning to be interviewed by Bryant Gumbel or whoever was hosting it the next morning. Because I saw one with Hagler and Tommy Hearns when they fought on the same card in 1986. That's after Hagler beat Mugabe, and Hearns beat, I believe, James Black Gold Schuler, because they thought they were setting up the rematch. But think about how many eyeballs that they were at that time on boxing. And then also, we're dating ourselves. Sports Illustrated used to be the most important magazine for sports, right? Boxing used to be on that cover all the time.
Not going to be putting Raul Romero on there anytime soon. Or what's next for Lopez? What does this win mean?
Means he's going to take a long rest, according to him.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the way to really build that momentum, huh, guys? Hey, what are you going to do? Because since you haven't fought since late January, it's the middle of summer, I'm just going to take a break. So in other words, we're not going to see him until next year. So I don't know how we – see, here's the thing, guys. Of all the talk that I hear about what do we do to fix boxing, and I've charted this. I've actually done some research. If you look at the activity level of the elite fighters, like the guys in the Ring Magazine pound-for-pound top 10, they fought as a collective so much more than they do today. Now, a week and a half ago, Steve and Willie, I wrote an article charting how many times the current Ring Magazine top 10 has fought this year. So we're deep into the third quarter. Out of the 10 guys, 8 of them have only fought once. Only one of them has fought twice. And one of them, I think Devin Haney, has not fought at all. And get this, guys, as of right now, do you know none of them have a second fight scheduled? Amazing. That's officially announced?
Steve Kim 323, 3 Knockdown Rule podcast. All right, what's going on with the November 20th MSG fight with AJ and Fury?
I have no idea, except everyone is pointing fingers at one another. All I know is this. I am glad that the Friday, if that happens, they're showing proper respect to the Miami-Virginia Tech game, which takes place November 21st. I'm glad they understand their place in the pecking order of U.S. sports. And being serious, college football, they know. And which to me makes me say, hey, guys, I know Netflix wants it in America for whatever reason. We have a lot of people out here. Guys, this is a British fight. It would be an absolute slap in the face to everyone in the UK if the biggest fight that they've ever had, at least in terms of money, takes place in America, because we will never see a Super Bowl in Wembley Stadium.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Eventually.
Not yet.
Right, exactly.
Don't give Goodell any ideas.
Exactly. All right, best fight of the weekend was actually a near fight with Enes Kanter and Tasha Cloud at a WNBA game. What do you think?
And if Cantor baited them and they took the bait, I don't understand. The guy's just sitting there watching the game for a reason, and he wants to mock. And it became a mockery. If they would have just ignored the guy would have, and if I think would have just been like, you know what, I've done it, I won't do it. Now it's spurred a whole different conversation. And sometimes when you see the bait, you got to have enough discipline or self-awareness just to ignore people. And they don't have that self-awareness. I
don't know if the audio that I heard, it was on social media because it just showed the scene. And I'm not sure if that was his voice or not, or someone just did an AI, but it sounded like he was cheering heavily when Sophie Cunningham hit a shot, and it was 2 more times down when Natasha Cloud came down. He was standing up, which every other fan in the stadium is going to do. And I know Tosh personally, and she can be fiery, and she's been the most political voice of the WNBA the last several years. That's when she chirped back. I don't know how much I'm putting it on him as much as I'm putting it on her.
Well, Miss Cloud, the demure one, has to realize if you want to make political stances, people have the right to disagree. I think this is one of my biggest problems with some of these pseudo-athletic activists. They believe because we watch them play sports that we're going to naturally or have a proclivity to agree with everything they say from a cultural and political standpoint. And my view is we have the absolute right, whether we're a fan of yours or not, to agree or disagree.
Steve Kim is with us. Okay, another hot button issue, and you know that Lane Kiffin is sort of the Enes Kanter of college football. He's going to be right in the middle of it. Why not, right? Daquan Wright going to be waived by the Browns, going to head to LSU. We'll see if he can get clearance. What do you make of this? Because now people have turned this into like NFL guys all over the place. You're going to be going back to college.
Well, I don't think that's this many guys were involved in that lawsuit. So it's not like there's hundreds of guys. But number one, people have to understand the NCAA is trying to. They don't want this. It's these courts, these local magistrates are ruling in different directions. Whether it's an eligibility of a singular player, like Trinidad Chambliss over there at Ole Miss, Virginia with Chandler Morris, one of the few cases where the courts actually said, no, you're not allowed to play. I don't like it. The bottom line is, guys, and I said this on Fearless, there's a lot of rules in America, a lot of rules and laws that come into place at a certain time and place. But that doesn't mean everyone that came before that retroactively gets to live by those rules. I'm sorry, there's cutoffs in life. And sometimes it's not fair. The timing is bad. I think it's a very dangerous precedent. Hopefully it's only this 1 year. But I will say this, a lot of the same people that are complaining about this are the same ones who several years ago were advocating for athlete empowerment and player rights and having no guardrails. Well, I hope you're happy with what is happening today.
What do you think of LSU this season?
It all depends on Sam Levitt. Look, we know Lane Kiffin can coach offensive football. They have a lot of parts. And, you know, Daquan Wright would only be a secondary or a second tight end. They have a really good one in Trey'Dez Green, who's a mismatch nightmare, right? They went really heavy into the portal at wide receiver. They got Jace Brown. So they have a lot of speed. They bring back some pretty good running backs that are already on the current roster. That game in week 3 against Ole Miss, that's going to be the litmus test. You win that, and I think LSU can make the playoffs. You lose that one, now you're thinking, okay, is this a 2, 3, 4-loss team? Because the schedule's pretty tough. They have to play Texas. They still have to play Alabama. But if Sam Levitt stays healthy, they have a puncher's chance in every game.
Well, one of the best, I guess, watches on Week 0. It might turn out to be a blowout like it was a year ago, but I am fascinated by North Carolina and TCU and Belichick having to go to Dublin again in a 9 a.m. start our time.
So am I. But look, the one thing, last year's offense was anemic, and Billy Edwards was just named the quarterback. You know, the southpaw Gio Lopez, who's now at Wake Forest, it just was not a good fit. Keep this in mind. I'm also intrigued by if they're any better because it's a very young team. They literally brought in 42 freshmen, right? But his offensive coordinator is Bobby Petrino. And one thing you say one about Bobby, okay, it's a checkered path with him. He's a very good offensive coach. I'm actually curious to see what they have in store because TCU, they're going through a transition because they're breaking in a new quarterback too. But that's an established program. But till UNC completely falls apart, I still think Belichick and UNC is a pretty fascinating story.
It is. It's a fascinating follow. By the way, Steve Belichick, the DC, is still out. He's on a medical leave, so I guess Bill's running the defense. He wouldn't even commit to that last week. He was saying basically people bringing up nonsense topic. Yeah, exactly. Go ahead and do your Belichick.
We're on the Wake Forest. Football question. Wake Forest.
Steve, I will talk to you. Thank you. We'll see you, buddy.
Thanks, guys.
There he is, Steve Kim with his Belichick impression. Raid PT's Taverns each week. This week, the spot is PT's Gold, East Lake Mead Parkway. That's Lake Mead in Henderson and Sunset 903 East Lake Mead Parkway. $3 on the Blue Moon and Coors Light pints, $4 Modelo pints. You can win Raiders tickets. Also, for the Raiders experience, you can win rideshare credit and bar credit at the outlets. PT's Tavern, PT's Gold, 903 East Lake Mead Parkway.
Las Vegas. It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas and ESPN Reno.
All right, here we go. 4 o'clock hour, Cofield and Company. We're just telling you about the rating PTs that's going on as we've got a shindig going down at 903 East Lake Mead Parkway. PT's Gold with cheap Blue Moon and Coors Light pints. Also, chance to win Raiders tickets, rideshare credit, and bar credit. Remember, also in the PT's family, Sierra Gold will be out there live this Thursday. It's the first Dan Mullen radio show. The show runs from 4 to 5, so we'll do 3 to 4 and 5 to 6 on Cofield and Company. Sierra Gold at 2:15 and Jones with the Dan Mullen radio show. Big 4 time.
Battleborn Injury Lawyers presents the Big 4 at 4. Number 4.
You know, Willie and I have done a show together for a long time, so we know how to tweak each other. If I bring up macaroni and cheese, and if Willie knows how to make it, he'll explode. And if Willie finds anything about robots, send it on over, because Cofield's going to go through the freaking roof. What'd you find from the weekend?
Well, apparently at the World Humanoid Robot Games,
What?
Usain Bolt is no longer the fastest man. Oh, no, not man. Forget it. Chinese robot beats Usain Bolt's 100-meter world record sprinting in 9.39 seconds at the World Humanoid Robot Games. So he's safe for now. Bolt's record is safe. But I don't know what was more entertaining, watching the robots race or watching them try to turn the corner, tumble, and sparks fly everywhere.
It was pretty cool, right? How many wiped out? And then one got off direction and just ran straight into a wall and then stumbled backwards, slammed its head on the ground, and then exploded. I laughed and laughed and laughed. Anytime the robots lose, we win.
What did you...
That's for all the robots out there on camera.
What movie?
Yours!
I know when I saw the one turning the corner and the sparks went, all I thought about was Terminator 2.
Okay.
Judgment
Sure.
Day.
Right?
Yeah.
That was one of the original movies where it's like, hey, these things are going to be dangerous down the road.
Yeah.
And now we're doing it.
Yeah. Somebody needs to go to the guy's house that created these and
why do we need
cut their arm open
humanoid
and show
Olympics?
them.
What are we doing?
I have no clue. I don't get it. I don't know. We have there's the robot games. There's the what is it called? What is the thing called where you with the cars with the remote control? I can't think of the name of it's very popular. It's like it's a contest. The game. There's something games, and I can't think of what it is. I think it's just robots, but there's something more to it.
You got me. I don't pay attention, man. I'm out on the robots. Screw them.
Okay.
Number 3.
Next thing you know, they're going to be behind the grill making waffles for us.
Oh,
and
no.
probably crappy waffles because they don't know what they're doing. I don't want robots cooking my food either.
I definitely don't want robots cooking my food. That's.
Well, we played audio like a month ago. Mark Laurie, who owns the T-Wolves, he just put them up for sale. He was just talking about how he's got some like fast casual restaurant with salad bowls and rice bowls, and he's got robots making them there. I'm like, I'm out. I'm not going to get. I don't want a robot making my food. Screw you. Hire employees.
I've been stepping up the meal prep game.
Can you
So I'm just
imagine?
cooking my own food.
Get to the meal prep later. Can you imagine on today, National Waffle Day, if you went to the king of waffles in this country, Waffle House, and instead of some lady with a cigarette with the ash going like an inch long cooking your food, or some young kid who's wearing a T-shirt and sweating all over your food, I don't want a robot. I want that human element. I like that.
No more chicken and waffles. Will be robots and waffles.
Does robots make? Yeah, you're right. We're gonna eat robots. Yeah, I wish I could eat a robot. But anyway, it's National Waffle Day. We've talked about this before. The general comparison of the doughy items at breakfast, French toast, waffle, pancake. I'll even throw in biscuits in there. I had some good biscuits recently in Denver.
Okay.
But of all of them, waffles are near the top of my list. And it hit me today on National Waffle Day. I don't eat enough waffles each year. I think I've only had like 3 this entire year. What am I doing?
I don't know.
Life is going by and I'm not eating waffles.
I know.
My life sucks.
What I do
I
know,
have to get more
I have
disciplined.
a Belgian waffle maker at home. But here's the thing. I don't break it out. Yet if I'm going on the road and it's one of those where breakfast is included and you go into the little dining room, I'm right there waiting for the softball team that's there for the tournament going, let's go. Let's pep it up. Let's go. With the cup.
Have you actually had a softball team in front of you?
Yeah.
That would be a nightmare. Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
You sit there and watch 18 people make waffles in front of you?
The last road trip when I drove up to that lake town coming back, and we're staying at different hotels along the way. I say we, Kalu and I, because he'll have a waffle. No, there's always a tournament of some kind going on, whether it's Little League, softball, soccer. There's always, youth. It's the summertime. So, of course, you're sitting back, you're waiting. You're not going to.
That's a great point, though. That is something I'm missing on. I stay at a lot of places that have the free breakfast in the morning. Why can't I show enough patience to sit there and make myself a waffle?
Well,
I don't do it.
You're a grumpy, impatient person.
I am very impatient.
You're cantankerous.
But I'm missing. But like I said, the count of waffles I'm doing a year is way down because I'm not even getting the free waffles.
My guess is this.
I have no idea how to eat anymore.
My guess is this.
I can't manage my diet. I stink.
You're waking up. You're walking around the room. Flatulence everywhere. The SO's like, I'm getting out of here.
Flatulence everywhere.
You send her down. You say, I don't care. Just bring me back something. And she's coming back with the plastic tray with a little box of Fruit Loops and the carton of milk, a couple of things of fruit, maybe a bagel that's not toasted and it's not even been cut. And you're walking out to the car with half the bagel in your mouth and a pastry and something else. You don't even go to the dining room. You don't even take the time.
You're right. I hit and run. I will go in and get a quick bagel. Maybe I'll toast it, but I never have the patience to do a waffle. By the way,
you hit it and quit it.
Absolute lie you just told. I've been together with the significant other for 15 years. I don't believe I farted in front of her once.
That's a lie.
I don't do it. I don't do it. Listen, when I grew up in my home, my father was very loud. He's a big belcher, right? So he would burp all the time. And my mother would yell at him. And I learned from an early age, farts are not funny.
Farts are not funny.
Farts are funny with guys. But farts around mom and farts around women, I know there are relationships where they fart all over each other. I don't fart. Near her, I don't do it. I'll tell you an old story, right? This is serious stuff. Don't laugh.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at James because I know what today's social media thing is going to be after the show when he posts it.
I had a girlfriend in college where I would be over her house and we would be actually her parents' house, right? In her parents' basement. And you're trying to get it on, you're watching TV, and then you're trying to get it on. I would leave, and I would get in the car afterwards, and I would just be like, oh, my God. And it would just be like 38 farts.
You too.
I would hold it in the whole time.
You didn't just go to the restroom.
I didn't go to the restroom because I don't want someone to hear it in the restroom. I might fart real loud. I'm very dignified, my friend. I don't know what kind of animal you are. Your Uncle Paul farts?
Don't know.
Probably not, because he's classy. Paul Anka does not fart.
Okay, let's...
Somehow went from a waffle conversation to Paul Anka not farting.
Yeah, that's... What the heck?
I'm right. He's a classy guy. Probably never farts. How dare you accuse me? That was a vicious accusation.
15 years I've never farted in front of the SO. Where has this gone?
I will ask her tonight. Let's see what she says. Number 2.
Number 2.
Okay, I wanted to spend less than 3 minutes on this because I think we're just playing into the guy's hands.
Yes.
Enes Kanter and standing up and trying to bait WNBA players into something with his dopey T-shirt and his claims that he's going to declare for the draft and he wants to live life as a woman. Why did Natasha Cloud take the bait and start walking toward him like she was going to fight him?
Natasha Cloud is like I said, she is a very she out of everybody in the WNBA, like if you say who's going to stand up for this and that, like Tosh doesn't care if it's the fourth quarter with 10 seconds left and the game is on the line. If she has something to say, she's going to say it. She stands up for what she believes on. She always has. She's spoken out during the offseason. People have asked if she's going to run for politics in her hometown. So,
but But in this case, what is she standing up for?
I don't that part.
Right?
Steve, I don't know why she's letting this guy get to her. I'm wondering what he said to her, but he goaded her enough to say something in the middle of a game, which is wild to me. Yeah. And the fact that she charged him at the base, I mean, it's just. And then the whole thing is he got in trouble.
Which is what he wanted. He wanted to get tossed.
But here's the thing: there's tons of fans that have been that yell things the entire game. It's the ones that are behind the benches on the baseline. They say the wrong thing. They point it. All they're doing is pointing it out. Hey, he said something. I got news for you. I can think of one Aces season ticket holder, and she's a sweetheart. But you know what? When that ball goes up, she is on her feet in the ref's ear as much as Becky Hammond. She's never been kicked out of a game. I know, and she messaged it. We talk all the time. But she's right there on the baseline. Sweetheart of a lady, but she yells and screams at the top of her lungs, and she will point. She probably knows all of them by first name. Never been kicked out. So
she's probably farting at the game. Keep people away.
Here we go.
Rude lady. So what's going to come of this now? Will the rest of the league kind of get it? Like you're just being baited into being part of a bit.
If I'm not mistaken, I may have seen something that come out where it's now been stated he cannot try out for a team, but he will not be banned from arenas. And I want to say that came from Kareem Copeland, who's a reputable journalist.
He shouldn't be.
Right.
Standing up and making an ass of yourself is not ban-worthy material.
No, he should not be banned from. But here's the thing: I don't know what he was saying, and from the exchange, it looked like Tosh was more animated than him. He was standing up, no more animated than a regular fan. Yep. Whatever he was yelling and saying, there's nothing worse than anything else that's being said, and there's probably worse stuff.
Number 1.
Cool news from the Raiders. Raiders and Intermountain Health are partnering to build the first children's hospital in the state of Nevada. Mark Davis and the Raiders are committing $25 million. The gift is being put up by Davis, Egan Durbin, and Michael Meldman, amongst others. Those guys donated $5 million apiece, and the Raiders committed $10 million.
Just the ongoing community effort that we've talked about since they've been here. This is nothing new. I had been getting the emails about it. I didn't have a chance to go out there, but if there's one thing that they've made it clear that they are going to do since they announced they were coming but weren't in Las Vegas, and that's that they were going to be a part of the community, not just as an NFL team, but all the other months in getting themselves involved in community relations, high school events. I know that they're very big in supporting the flag football leagues. Their presence is known at the games of the week in fall football with the boys and flag football. So, I mean, this is just an ongoing effort that Mark Davis has always said that he wants to be a part of when it comes to Southern Nevada.
Reminder, Willie is going to be out before the UNLV game, hosting the pre-party at Whiskey Stadium right there across from Allegiant Stadium. It'll go down from 5 to 7 when he's hanging out at Whiskey Stadium. It's presented by Findlay Toyota. You can win UNLV Rebels gear. You can score $1.95 Miller Lite drafts. And best of all, you can register to win Willie and Whiskey and ESPN Las Vegas's VIP lounge experience tickets. That means you go to the game and you go in VIP style. 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock, game night. Kickoff is at 7 over at Allegiant Stadium. So the place to pregame is Whiskey Stadium right there across from Allegiant with Willie Ramirez and ESPN Las Vegas.
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas and ESPN Reno.
All right, Browns make their decision. It's not a shocker. Deshaun Watson is going to be the starter. Shedeur Sanders will not be the number one to begin the season. Now, there's all these conspiracy theories. I heard some of the Cleveland guys screaming and yelling about it, that it makes no sense. There's no logic behind it. And I explained it to you about an hour ago to the audience. The logic behind it is Shedeur is not good, and Deshaun Watson isn't good either, but Deshaun Watson is still capable of being a quarterback in the NFL who's near being a starter. Shedeur Sanders is a 3. And if you want to keep coming up with conspiracy theories or that Todd Monken did it to stick it to the fans because they were booing, check that. Monken was asked about that during his press availability today.
There was nothing to do with that. I mean, ultimately, the fans want us to win. Ultimately, put a good product on that's really what they want, okay? And so that's our job as coaches, why we're hired, to try and put the best product on the field. And when we don't, then I understand their frustration. But ultimately, they don't decide who plays. Who would I be if I let someone outside of the building decide who plays?
Right. You should be fired. That's who you'd be. An unemployed coach. Don't listen to the fans.
100%.
And don't listen to the media. And at the beginning of the season, you're tasked with winning games. All this stuff about, listen, I'm a Jets fan, right? Mm. You know that. Browns fans, Cardinals fans. Ultimately, would it be nice to just go out this year, and if you're not going to win 9, 10, 11 games and make the playoffs, would it be nice just to win 2, 3, 4 and get that quarterback solution? Yes. But at the beginning of the season, your job is to win. You have veteran players on the team. They want to win. So you got to try to win. And in the case of the Browns, I don't care what anyone says. Deshaun Watson is way ahead of Shedeur Sanders. That's it. That's what went into the decision. Todd Monken is not – he didn't strategize because a couple things happened this weekend. One, the fans booed Deshaun Watson. 2, Deshaun Watson comes out after the game and says, hey, that was a little bit disrespectful. I don't appreciate that. And immediately I see media people who are like, he's got to be cut. There's no way he can start. That guy can't be part of the organization anymore. What are you talking about? It's a natural reaction by someone when they're being booed to go, I don't really love that. And Watson sort of apologized today and said, listen, I've been through a lot the last couple of years, and what he's talking about is his injuries. Mm-hmm. He's had all these injuries. He said, I'm showing up to the facility, I'm doing my work, and then they're booing me. He's not taking into account all the stuff that came out, the allegations. By the way, never convicted in a court. I'm not here to back Deshaun Watson for whatever his actions were, but the NFL suspended him. They fined him $5 million because the NFL does whatever the hell it wants. But he wasn't convicted in a court of law. So if you don't like him or you really love Shedeur Sanders, he has the right to say after a game, you know what? The booing bothered me. What is he supposed to do? Come out and go, you know what? I love booing. I hope they just lay it on me.
Oh, and by the way, this is Monken's first head coaching job in the NFL, right? I believe his second ever in football. He was Southern Miss's head coach 2013 to 15. Do we really think that when he says I have to do what's best for the team, in a sense, it's his first job as well. He's got to do it's all coming back on him. How many times since you brought me on as part of the company have I said it starts at the top, Steve, regardless of this guy may not be the best running back, he may not be this, but it's always going to come back, and because that's the guy that always takes the blame. So by making this decision, Monken's going to have to wear this one on his sleeve. He made the decision. He obviously feels that this is the right decision for the team. So the guy's got experience, and if they got to pull the plug whenever they do got to pull the plug, then they will. But as of right now, going into the regular season, Deshaun Watson is the better quarterback than for the Cleveland Browns.
You didn't counter me at all earlier when I was saying that Shedeur stinks. Do you have a softer spot in your heart for Shedeur Sanders? Am I being too harsh?
No, because you have sort of you've been on that soapbox since you've been saying that. You've been saying that since he dropped, and when I was saying, and a lot of other people were saying that, come on, that, oh, well, the meetings and the interviews during the draft leading up to that, right, after the combine, all the interviews that they go through, you were the one person that I remember that kept saying, maybe it goes beyond the interviews. Maybe he just really isn't good enough.
This goes even further back to before when he dropped. If you remember, in August of his last season at Colorado, I made a bet on the show and said that he would not be a first-round pick. Mm-hmm. So I was the only person in the country who publicly was willing to bet that supposedly the number one pick in the draft would not even be a first-round pick. Now, I wish I had known that he'd be a fifth-round pick. I could have made some real money off of that.
Yeah.
But he's not an NFL starting quarterback. He's a backup quarterback. He's nowhere near Deshaun Watson, and that's the way it goes. And, again, to make the point, I'll keep repeating it over and over again, these coaches, and maybe they'll be wrong. Maybe Shedeur Sanders will be outstanding, right? Maybe he'll be the savior 4 games into the season. He's not the best quarterback on the roster now, and the job is to win.
Let me ask you this question. Former Cleveland Brown quarterback who's not in the league, is he more an NFL caliber quarterback than Shedeur Sanders, and that's one former Bishop Gorman national champion Dorian Thompson-Robinson?
I think they're about the same guy.
Okay.
I think they're fringe NFL guys. And I will give Shedeur credit, and I'll also give Deion credit. They've quieted down all the stuff around them because that's the last thing he needed. Like, bro, you're barely on the NFL's radar to be in the league. Don't be loud. Just do your job. So, as far as I know, they've been quiet. I haven't seen a whole bunch of things like the first year.
I would argue, and yes, because partially because I'm biased, but I would also argue that if you were going to give me the choice from the two, even if I needed a QB3, I might go with DTR only for the mere fact that DTR got there on his own laurels and his own. Now, Shedeur did some impressive things in college, but there's a part of that he's there because of his last name and who his father is. The spotlight that was given to him was because of his DTR, who, by the way, was counted out at UCLA and went on to break UCLA records. So I'm not trying to make this a DTR conversation, but I did think of that when you were bringing up he's a fringe quarterback. He's just a backup because Dorian Thompson-Robinson spent some time as the starting quarterback when he was needed, and he was with the Cleveland Browns.
Going back to the booing over the weekend, again, I get it. The guy's got a rap sheet, we'll call it. I will repeat it, though. Again, technically, Deshaun Watson was never convicted of a crime in a court of law. The NFL, not a court of law, found that Watson had violated the NFL's personal conduct policy, suspended him 11 games, fined him $5 million as a part of a settlement between the NFL and the NFLPA, which is very interesting because look what's come down the pike again in the National Football League. I'm guessing that Jed York, the owner of the Niners, will not be allowed to be around the Niners, should be suspended from the facility for at least 2/3 of the season and better be fined at least $5 million. I say that tongue-in-cheek because we know the players face different penalties than the owners, but yeah, Jed York picked up on a prostitution pop in a trailer park in some hellhole not in Cleveland, in the state of Ohio. From my understanding, the city is closer to the Pennsylvania border. So, Jed York in the news. Jed York, a younger Bobby Kraft, if you believe because they go beyond allegations because he pled no contest and served 2 days in jail and paid a fine.
What was Robert Kraft accused of?
Well, it would clearly be a violation of the NFL's personal conduct policy because Bobby Kraft's allegations were very similar to Deshaun Watson's. But we know the owners are treated differently than the players.
Well, because they run things. The NFL works for the owners. Let's not forget, Goodell reports to the owners.
You're right.
So,
and the owners are, unless it gets to a situation where Dan Snyder's openly threatening other owners, they're never going to pull the plug or they're never going to demand some sort of penalty for this sort of behavior because they don't want to, coming back on them. We get it. Just like in the NBA right now, no one is screaming from the hills around the rest of the league owners to go after Steve Ballmer. They don't want it. They don't want that smoke when it may be them doing something similar or something along those lines. So.
All the smoke.
Yep.
Bring the smoke.
So messy time in Ohio with Deshaun Watson getting booed and Jed York being picked up on a prostitution pop.
Ohio. No wonder LeBron didn't want to go back to Ohio.
You have a story up at teamfb7.com, your preseason week 2 breakout performances. What do you got? You got about 45 here. We can carry it over.
I did the top 10, and I was pleased with the fact that number 1 I felt was Joe Milton. 9-13 passing, 179 yards, 2 touchdowns, 151.4 rating. The biggest thing beyond the efficiency and explosiveness, 13.77 yards per attempt, completing almost 70% of his passes, 2 touchdowns on only 13 throws. So good to know that they have the quarterback room's looking good. But you can go to Team FB7 and read all 10 breakout performances.
My quarterback rankings in hour number 1, I rated Shedeur Sanders number 90 in the league.
You did?
How close is Joe Milton to being a top 32 quarterback?
Whew.
Like, is there going to be a spot down the road where Joe Milton could push to be the starter somewhere? And maybe it's sooner than later. Maybe Dak just becomes too expensive, isn't backing it up, and Joe Milton could be the guy.
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas and ESPN Reno.
Part of the program, we like to do our Tick Talk. Get it? With Willie. You got a live show coming up that you're going to be doing on the reg?
I am. I'm looking forward to it. It starts 2 weeks from today. Going to steal the line from that everybody else uses, but Monday morning quarterback. Recapping the first 2 segments will recap the week, and then we'll preview the Monday night game. Then Thursday night primer, we will preview I will preview the upcoming week, and then do the Thursday night primer for Thursday night football, and then Friday's best bets. Of course, because everybody loves to bet football. So, as you know, Steve, we're linked in with some of the sportsbook directors. They're going to tell me who the Sharps are playing. We're going to release those on the show, and I'll give my picks out. Those will be the ones everyone will want to fade, of course. Until I get hot.
Social media can be toxic.
And
TikTok is, unfortunately, kind of moving up the ladder on the toxicity. Twitter is still the worst.
Yeah.
You had an experience this weekend where the other side of the internet and social media shine bright, where it can actually be helpful.
Yeah, when I first started going live, the guy I started going live with at the same time, tag name Burrito, he had introduced me to somebody that he had been going into her live chat for quite some time. And so I was going around meeting different people, and, she was always really cool. She's a top-notch creator. And she'd come in and out. We'd cross paths. We really didn't follow or connect on the day-to-day, but then just recently out of nowhere she popped in, she said hello, then she invited me to co-host. Now all of a sudden we're on each other's FYP and we're back and forth, and I started going into her lives very early in the morning, Steve, because she's on the East Coast. You'll appreciate this. She's a Jersey girl, goes by the name of Aslyn, that's her name, but she goes by Asmazing because she is amazing. And I was intrigued by this one co-host she was doing, the co-hosting show she was doing with a young man named Joey with Down syndrome, but very alert, very sharp, very with it, and having fun. And this is somebody who puts her all into her. She puts on a show. She's on for 3 to 4 hours. She's entertaining. She's dancing. She's doing handstands. She's playing music. She knows every single person who comes into her chat. And at some point, she takes time away from what she does to bring in this young man and engage and get her chat involved. And when they do the battles, as you know, I've explained what the battles are, she sends all of her team, all of her chat over to there, and she'll just kind of say, hey, go drop the heart me's, go do this, go say hi to Joey. But the point is, she spends time with this young man. There was a singing contest or a music contest on TikTok. She was encouraging everybody to send your votes there, give him the votes, do this. And, man, when you think about how, as we mentioned, toxic, when we're talking about the WNBA, we're talking about the NFL, you're talking about Deshaun Watson, I'm talking about Natasha Cloud, we're talking about the people that just love to get on social media and find reasons to moan and complain, and I was going to use the B word. But, and you watch someone like this, as energetic as this young lady is, and the heart and emotion that I was really impressed with, saying, man, if we could just get 1% of social media society to act like her, that would embrace thousands of people that show kindness and do the right thing. And Joey is, I mean, he takes us on walks with him down to wherever he lives by the beach or to the coffee shop up the street, and he's just living life like everything is okay. And here's a young man with, like I said, with Down syndrome, but he loves getting on social media. He loves engaging, and I just thought it was fantastic. It was one of the best things. And you know what? I had one of my best weeks on TikTok in terms of just where you rank in the leagues, but also in just looking forward to going on there and watching this positive engagement. So shout out to her. If you're a TikTok person and you like going into these lives and you happen to be listening, look up Azmazing, Azmazing, absolutely. Because, like I said, it's not just going in; it is an absolute show.
Coming up next, Jesse Merrick, Silver and Black Sports Network, and we'll get the skinny on what's going on with Ashton Genty and the injury and some real misinformation out there.
Company on ESPN Las Vegas and ESPN Reno.
All right, rolling on here on this Monday. Willie Ramirez is with us. He just keeps talking through the breaks. Doesn't matter. He's got stuff going on TikTok. What are you up on TikTok? Willie G. Ramirez with two Z's?
Two Z's.
Okay. Jesse Merrick is in from Silver and Black Sports Network. Jesse knows Willie. He doesn't stop talking. What's up, Jesse?
What's up? Hey, just so everybody knows, just two S's in my name.
Ah, there you go. All right.
Yeah.
All right. You don't want to add a Z at the end? Jesse?
Nah.
So you are an affable guy, and yet today I saw the jabronis over at Polymarket retweet something with you, and it had something to do with Rob Leonard, the DC, refused to talk about Ashton Genty's injury. Like what?
Yeah. They definitely took his quote out of context. Rob Leonard said, I can't talk about that when he was asked about his vantage point for Ashton Genty's injury. And look, it's common practice, and most people that cover teams know, it's the head coach or the GM that answers those questions. And, look, he was the authority figure on the first day that someone was made available after that, and so it's logical to ask that question. But he said what any other coach, I think, on this staff or any other staff around the league, to be completely honest, would probably say, especially one on the opposite side of the football. So, yeah, I didn't read too much into it, and I couldn't believe they tried to do some BS stuff like that, just kind of engagement farming. And I appreciate they attributed it to me, but wish they would have done it correctly.
Exactly, because for folks who don't know, that may lead to a call from the Raiders who aren't really interested in if you understood it or not. And I have no idea if that happened, but I would assume that's the kind of crosshairs you get put in when a site like that does that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, luckily they know what I'm about. They know I'm not that type of guy, but stuff like that can happen. And especially for me in the position of being an independent journalist, you want to make sure you guard yourself from stuff like that because, people can take things and run with them. We're all of a sudden getting labeled as a shock jock or whatever, and that's not me in the slightest.
Let's talk about Rob Leonard and what he talked about on Sunday. One, on playing style so far in the first couple of games, and then comfort levels on the defense. Yeah. I think something that was interesting to me is that first game, like many preseason games, he called it very vanilla. Not doing a whole lot. He was having the corners play a lot of press bail and things like that. That's kind of what you expect, especially for a team with a new DC who's calling plays for the first time because you have that, veil of secrecy. You don't put your stuff out there. Well, he started mixing up a lot of different things, throwing some different blitzes from the corners, from the nickelback, mixing up his fronts and things like that. A lot of stuff that, we've been seeing out of this defensive practice that we normally can't talk about, but when he puts it out there, you can talk about it a little bit more. So to me, I think what he was saying too is he saw from the first preseason game that his guys
weren't necessarily put in the greatest position to succeed, didn't love what he saw from them. So I think he was like, hey, and this was a quote from him too, like, let me throw some things out there that are more comfortable, more familiar to my players, and they're going to succeed. And one guy in particular that he was talking about with that was Traden Stukes. And I think that showed. I mean, Traden Stukes, their second-round pick, looked really good in that game. And since then, he's actually been taking reps exclusively with the ones at safety. So, I think it's one of those things where the coach kind of looking out for his guys and also trying to increase the workload and see what they can do. And he seemed pleased with what most of them did when he did that.
Speaking with Jesse Merrick with 2 S's in Jesse, Silver and Black Sports Network. All right, so Jesse, overreactions and underreactions, if you will, after Game 2.
I would say, let's see, the overreaction for sure is like Fernando Mendoza. Everybody overreacted to the interception and is like, oh, man, like it's going to take longer or he struggled and all this stuff. But like in reality, when you look at it, he didn't actually struggle. He made one bad mistake, and then he came up back and rattled off 6 straight completions following that. I thought it was a great response, and there were some instances, too, where there were 2 drop passes. So his completion and his stats would have looked better. I believe he finished with 8 completions. He would have been 11 for 15, I think, if you account for some drops and one where he threw it away because there was pressure right in his face. Let's see, underreaction. Ooh, I don't know, maybe the underreaction could possibly be like, yes, people are talking about Mike Washington Jr., and I'm not just saying that given the status of Genty kind of being up in the air, but Mike Washington is a guy that I think more people should be talking about. Like, he had 2 big runs, but this is a guy that has looked really good. Something that's impressed me with him is his ability to catch the ball out of the backfield, which is something that I kind of doubted he would be able to do consistently. For the most part, he's looked good. Now, I will say he did have a drop or 2 in yesterday's practice, so timing not great on that front. But this is a guy that's impressed me in a lot of areas. Like many young running backs, the big question is going to be, can he pass protect? I haven't watched that area of his game enough. I'll be honest. I got to go back and watch the tape and see him in those situations. But, we'll see him in more of those spots, I would imagine, in the final preseason game.
Jesse, Steve, I think you put it perfectly earlier in the show. In terms of Mendoza, after Game 1, after Game 2, reactions didn't get too high, didn't get too low. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better reactions from this rookie.
Yeah, I would agree 100%. And I think that's the way to really, analyze his play also. Like, he hasn't done anything where you're like, oh, my God, this is insane, or anything where you're like, ugh, this guy's a bust, he's very much so, I think, been a very, straight line, I guess you could say, and that's the way it should be interpreted. So, I think with him, you want to see that. It's his personality, where he's not going to get too high, not going to get too low, and is able to respond in those moments, And so, as a young guy, to see that, to be able to see the response to the interception and kind of deal with that type of stuff has been impressive for me thus far. And again, you just kind of continue to see this kid moving in the right direction. So I'm curious to see what the final preseason game looks like for him in terms of that last response till we probably see him put on the shelf for a bit. And then we probably won't see him again until he starts at some point.
Do you think, just spitfiring here, but as of right now, because of the experience that Aiden O'Connell has had the last couple of years, including being the starter at some point, that it would be even safer to make him QB2 at the start of the season?
You're saying to make Aiden QB2?
Yes.
Yeah, I've been saying that for a while. For the early portion of camp, I've been thinking it would make a lot of sense to have Aiden be your number 2 and essentially make Fernando your emergency third quarterback. Because I think at any point, if God forbid Kirk were to go down with an injury in game, as much as this staff has talked about wanting to protect Fernando and, make it as easy on him as possible and all those different things, well, how do you do that? Not by throwing a kid in there when he hasn't been able to take reps with the ones and all that stuff and have a full week to prepare. So I think if for whatever reason Kirk was unavailable in game, I do think your best bet is to throw Aiden O'Connell out there. He's been there, done that in that situation before. And then if and when it's a long-term thing or multi-week thing where you're ready to make the move to Fernando, then you give him an entire week to work with the ones, an entire week to prepare as the actual guy. Because as much as everybody loves to say, I treat my preparation the same, every day is the same like I'm the starter, it's different when you're actually going to be the guy. I would definitely, I think, as long as he's still on the team, I would lean toward having Aiden be the number 2 guy. But in reality, Fernando is the 2. It's just a number and structure of who would go in there if Kirk's unavailable.
Jesse Merrick at Jesse SBSN. It's Silver and Black Sports Network podcast, and then daily emails are sent out, newsletters, also content on several different platforms. Okay, Sunday practice, Genty goes down. What did it look like? What was the mood? And what's your best information say about the injury?
Yeah. I'll be honest. Like, it looked bad from our vantage point. I know everyone. Like, I've seen some people like, "Oh, the media overreacted," and all this stuff because you're hearing reports from Schefter and the national outlets that it's an ankle sprain. Now, we obviously don't know the severity of that, and there's varying degrees of an ankle sprain. A high ankle sprain, like, you've seen some guys suffer those injuries, and it's a really painful injury.
Yeah.
And it can last a while. I've had a high ankle sprain, and it sucked, and it kept me out for a pretty decent amount of time. And I'm not an NFL athlete, so obviously it's different, but it's not a fun injury, especially for a running back. And so from my vantage point from afar, essentially, we were in the indoor facility. All of us were in the back corner of the end zone, and the offense was driving on like the 40 or the opposite 50. So they were pretty far away from us. Hard to get a really good look at it, but it looked like he was going out for a pass. The pass was a bit low. He kind of dove for it. From my vantage point, I think he and Darian Porter collided. There's other media members who say nobody collided. Some of us say he did. Like, it's kind of hard to get a definitive answer on that. But some sort of contact with the ground, whatever. And he was laying on the ground for a bit. He got up, was helped off by the trainers, put no weight on that right leg. And the thing that was crazy for me was the team's reaction. They cut off all the music at practice. Everybody took a knee and seemed to, like, say a team prayer. Like, to me, that reaction told you all you needed to know about the severity of it. But then you hear the news that they may have dodged a bullet, and that's a major win for the Raiders. So we'll get word tomorrow from Clint Kubiak because he's going to be at the podium. So we won't have to rely on Rob Leonard talking about it. So I'm curious to see what Clint has to say, but it is important to note that he's under no obligation to disclose injuries at this point. So I'm very, very curious to see how he handles the discussion around this one.
What should or would the Raiders do to cushion the blow? We don't know how long Genty could be out if he's out for any significant period of time. But what does a running back room look like right now? And I know they've brought guys in. They looked at Najee Harris and then he signed with the Giants. But what does a room look like and what should they do?
Yeah. So it's interesting right now. They've got Mike Washington Jr., who has been working as their number 2 running back. He was their 4th-round pick out of Arkansas. So far in the preseason, he's got 15 carries for 119 yards, and he's averaged 7.9 yards per carry, which is pretty dang good. Now, again, I mentioned he's had a couple chunk plays. That's runs of 33 and 53 yards, so that's helped boost it. But that essentially tells you the story about what he is. He is kind of that boom or bust type of running back. If you give him a lane, he can take off, and he's been able to do that. Now, behind him, you have Dylan Lawley, who has a whopping 8 carries for 9 yards, and his first ever carry went for a fumble. Now, this is a guy that I think people like more as a receiver, and I think he could be kind of like that change of pace as a receiver out of the backfield. We've seen him in 2-minute situations over the years. But that's kind of where things stand right now. They also have Dario Gumbawale, who's a vet, came over from the Texans. He has experience in a Kubiak-style scheme. Again, though, probably not a guy that you want to rely on heavily. And then behind all of them, you have Roman Hemby, who's an undrafted rookie free agent out of Indiana. A lot of the fans love him. We just haven't seen him a ton. And I get the sense that the team wants to stash him on the practice squad. So, again, probably not going to rely on him too much. In terms of what they should do, honestly, I would lean on Mike Washington Jr., see what the kid can do if, for whatever reason, Ashton does indeed end up being out for an extended period of time or the regular season. Again, we don't know that just yet. But the kid's shown enough to where I think you can lean on him. But I would imagine, too, today, after waiving Noah Brown, a veteran receiver they brought in, they have 2 active roster. They have 2 spots open on the roster. I think we're going to see them add another running back. Or if they don't, that tells you the outlook for Genty as well. So kind of keep an eye on that. But I would lean on Mike Washington Jr., give the kid a shot, and let him show you what he can do as the lead guy if, for whatever reason, Ashton does end up missing time.
45 seconds left. The kicking situation is very interesting. I don't know that we know Tokyo Toe has not lit anyone up. And Matt Gay's been okay. Unreliable, if you wanted to go back to the X, well, he's gone now as Carlson signed with the Saints.
Yeah, a lot of fans are bummed about that. They were hoping that Carlson would be an option, but then the Saints go and take that. And then I believe, too, Keyshawn Boutte, just in terms of missed out on that. He was just traded today as well. So that's something that Raiders fans were hoping maybe a move would be made there. In terms of kicking, I think they're going with Matt Gay. He's got familiarity with their special teams coordinator, and he's been consistent enough in practice. Obviously, consistency hasn't necessarily been his calling card the last couple of years in the league, but they feel comfortable with him. And again, to your point, Tokyo Toe hasn't been consistent. That's kind of what he was known for in college. It hasn't been there. I'd imagine he's even now a stretch to make it as the IPP pathway where he's kind of stashed away and they work on him for a year just because he has been so inconsistent, which is a bummer because he was an awesome story,
Yeah. 20 seconds left. Tell people what's coming up this week at Silver and Black Sports Network.
Yeah. So we're gonna, when the preseason game wraps up on Thursday, I'll be doing a show potentially with Ryan Hogue. We're trying to see if he's going to be able to watch it. He's in the process of traveling back and forth, but breaking down the game, hitting you guys with some possible guys that could or could not make the team, breaking down what we saw from Fernando, all of that stuff. It's going to be really interesting, and obviously tomorrow we'll be keeping tabs on seeing what the deal is with Ashton Jeanty and explaining more about what his outlook looks like once we get word on his injury, and again, talking more about that running back situation for them going forward.
We'll check it out. Jesse, thank you. We'll talk to you, buddy.
Yes, sir. Take it easy, guys.
Jesse Merrick, former college football player and local TV star, now doing his own thing with Silver and Black Sports Network. On the way back, some more updates about that Bills' fabulous new stadium and more on Ashton Jeanty and the running back room.
Live from the Findlay Toyota studio, you're listening to ESPN Las Vegas.
All right, rolling on here. Cofield and Company, Steve Cofield, Willie Ramirez, ESPN Las Vegas. James is here running the show. Lots to get to. WNBA coming up, Aces results, and also how the playoff race looks. That's coming up in 5 minutes. Obviously, headline story here in Vegas. What exactly happened to Ashton Jeanty? How bad is the ankle turn? Jesse Merrick was just on with us and said, we still haven't gotten real, good information on this. Some saying it's not that serious. We will see. And I think we'll find out this week if they're going to need some replenishment. If they bring in some other running backs, it's sad to say, but running backs are so distant now that there's usually a healthy dose of veteran running backs who've kind of been thrown on the scrap heap, and then they make their way back into the NFL throughout the season, but there's plenty of dudes left out there. Najee Harris was brought in at the beginning of camp by the Raiders, and last week the Giants finally inked him, so I guess we'll know if Jeanty's going to be down for a while if they go out and get a veteran running back. Because right now, beyond Jeanty, the running back room is really, 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 really young and really inexperienced.
And Anthony Thomas texted in, Nick Chubb just announced his retirement. Do the Raiders give him a call? You giving him a call, Steve? You're the GM?
Probably not. I don't have other names I would call in front of him. I'll look it up, get the updated free agent list, but I think there's probably someone out there who might have some more versatility and has a better chance of staying healthy.
Yeah. He's retiring for a reason.
Sucky story. Because, he was awesome.
Yeah.
And then you just, and that is, again, like I don't like saying it, but the old running backs are thrown on the scrap heap. People don't want to pay them. And then you have guys like Nick Chubb who they grind into the freaking ground for 3 years. And then when he does get injured, it's like, sorry, tough luck. See ya.
Yeah.
And that's why when players hold out, when they have a chance to get guaranteed money, like I always back them, especially running backs.
Yeah.
You could have, in most cases, you're going to have a 3, 4, 5 year career. You may get to 9 or 10 years. You may have a miracle situation like Frank Gore and play until you're 100. But most of these guys are one serious injury away from being a top 20 running back in the NFL to 2 years later, they're out. You know what? This came up the other day on my Facebook memories. It was Candy and I, and it was a video, and we were talking about cats. And why were we talking about my cats? Because Todd Gurley had just gotten a cat. That was 7 years ago. Todd Gurley's been done in the NFL now for like 4 years. He's not old. And Todd Gurley was like, pew, to the moon how good he was at the beginning of his career. But, they run you into the ground, you have knee injuries, and you're done.
Well, as price tags went up and values in the front office eyes went down, meaning as GMs started taking a look at the market and they put less value on the running backs, but running backs and their agents, it was, I don't want to say it was him specifically, but it was in that time frame when they started looking down on running backs. Hey, we're not going to put was when the Raiders had to make a decision on Josh Jacobs, if you remember, picking up that 5th-year option on that, wasn't it the 4th year? 5th year. He was going into the final year of his rookie contract, and they decided that, and he said, well, I'm just going to gamble on myself. He was coming off being the leading rusher in the NFL, Of course, we know what happened from there. Question is whether he's going to be ready for the start of this season, but now he's in Green Bay. But, I mean, that was in that time frame where this conversation began in terms of, is the price of a running back now too high?
Aces this weekend get a win against Toronto, but they do suffer an injury in the game. So Asia Wilson, another big game, but now what?
Oh, man. Talk about injuries in Las Vegas. Nalissa Smith goes down. From my understanding, again, this is just off of blurbs, reports. Somebody said they heard a pop. It didn't look good. I know Jackie Young was the first one over to her. Of course, they shield her with the towels. She needed help off the court. I haven't heard a thing, Steve, and we're all waiting for the email. It may have come because I don't have that particular email address up right now from the team, but it's very coincidental this morning after this happens, though, that Dewana Bonner in Phoenix accepts or I don't know whether she demanded it or Phoenix, if there was discussions, but all of a sudden, the person who bolted Indiana for Phoenix is bolting Phoenix for somewhere, but she's accepted a buyout. She has to clear waivers, and then she can sign somewhere with a playoff contending team. Oh, by the way, the Aces may need a big.
Would you bring her in? Is she good in the locker room?
Yes, absolutely. In this town, same way I said about Kennedy. Kennedy blew it, not the Aces. But Dewana Bonner, she's never really been toxic. And she's got championship experience, not as far as a ring, but she's been on teams that have been to the finals or been deep in the playoffs. She was with the Connecticut team that the Aces beat. So, she knows everybody. She's a veteran. She could get along and come in and easily get along with Asia Wilson, Cheyenne, Parkatitis, and the rest, Chelsea Gray. I mean, she would get along with them all. She knows them. She's married to Alyssa Thomas, who's been on the Olympic team with them. So it's not as if she doesn't know them. She's been to All-Star Weekend. She's been in the league. I think she would fit in great. The problem is the place that I think she fits in best is probably Atlanta, which would make them dangerous even more than they already are. But I think the necessity, it's so coincidental, Steve, that you have to go, okay, did Nikki get on the phone, start crafting it? If Nalissa is out for the season, how does that work with the salary cap? They make room, and then all of a sudden they bring Dewana Bonner in. I don't want to say it's a perfect fit because I don't think at her age she's replacing Nalissa Smith, but it's a damn good viable option this late in the season.
By the way, I'm glad you brought up Kennedy Carter. When she got cut, we told you on this show, at least I did, that was it. And we got pushback from people who were like, oh, the Aces screwed her over. She can score. She's going to sign with someone. Where is she?
China?
July 7th she was signed. I'm sorry. July 7th she was waived.
Yeah. Not in the WNBA.
She's out of the league.
Yeah.
And maybe she'll get another chance, but they know what happened. The rest of the league knows what happened. I think the Aces, for HR purposes, could not speak about it. Remember how Becky quickly was like, I'm not answering questions about it? Or no, a PR person stepped in, right? To stop any more questions. So something happened.
We're going to talk about
something happened, and it wasn't
the game. That's what
something happened. Yeah, and now the rest of the league knows.
I've not done this.
She's not being touched.
I've not done this since All-Star Weekend, and I'm not about to do it and bring it up. But I will say this: whatever took place with Kennedy Carter, whatever took place last year with all the stuff that was brought out in a very wrong way. I'm not making excuses for one person, because I'm not about to get into all that. But the way that it was brought up during All-Star Weekend, during that podcast that everybody's become familiar with, I can tell you this much: win or lose the title, there's going to be a lot of discussion during the offseason. I can tell you that much, that Nikki Fargas and Becky Hammond are not going to stand for in the 2027 season. There's all this stuff when it comes to whatever took place with Kennedy Carter, whatever took place with certain players, if the accusations are correct in terms of interpersonal relations.
Smith and Dejanay Carrington and pictures and
you can say,
rumors and all that. I'm
just not going to rehash it. I'm just talking about whatever the case is, because if they don't win it, you can best believe that they're going to point to that and say, hey, this isn't the cause of it. It doesn't bring on the court that y'all didn't play correctly. But at the same time, we don't need these distractions. We don't need this type of toxicity.
Well, they have an organization that, while you may think, hey, we can blend people in and we'll fix it, and the championship attitude here is going to get people straightened out, why bother?
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Why take reclamation projects and people who have issues just because you can get them for cheap? I'm not saying the season's ruined. It's just, they haven't been as good as in a regular season as probably should by like 4 games. It's not like they should be, they should finish 33-11. I mean, they're gonna still have a good record here, finish with like 29 wins.
Well, what's funny is last year they were 14-14, then they reeled off that 16-game win streak. This year they've actually been consistent. They've just lost some shocking games that they've lost, and they've been trounced at home a couple times. But in reality, if you look at the records overall, there's no reason why they can't make a run. The key will be what happens with Nalissa and if they bring somebody in.
Did you see the 2 newest people to the Caitlin Clark grift?
Now what?
Well, I think there are people out there who realize if you talk Caitlin Clark, good or bad, but especially good if you back her, it's a way to get instant hits or at least get your social media going in the right direction. So one is our buddy Doug Kazarian. I've noticed Doug is like 95%. It seems like it. He's not 95%, but heavy WNBA. The other one is Elko, Linda Cohn, fresh off of leaving ESPN. Now I see something about Caitlin Clark and her podcast she does. It's about it seems to always be about Caitlin Clark. And last week I actually retweeted something. Why I do this, I have no idea. But I retweeted something she had said because she was griping about Caitlin Clark being a long shot for the MVP, saying that, well, Olivia Miles is going to win Rookie of the Year. Why does she have to be MVP? And it's like, Elko, first of all, as of last week, Asia Wilson was minus 1,300 to win the MVP. I think it was 1,300. I might be a little high on that. But anyway, Olivia Miles was like 6-1, and Caitlin Clark was like 14-1 or 11-1. And the other reason on the Fever, she's going to split votes.
She's not the best player on the team.
And that's what I said to her. I go, there's an argument to be made that she's not even the MVP on her team. I think she is. You can argue the other way. The way she's playing right now,
out of this world.
And in a lot of ways, unless you're part of the grift, it's getting covered up because guess what happened in that Enes Kanter, Natasha Cloud game, right? What was the other story going on?
What, the clip that we saw Caitlin Clark smiling? Is that what you're talking about?
Just her performance in general.
Oh, yeah. No, that completely got overshadowed that she scored 37 points, and that's what we should be talking about.
Well, and also Dejanay Carrington talking trash and then having threes.
But that's Dejanay. Yeah. I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, come on. Like I said, Dejanay's Dejanay, and they're always going to point to if let me tell you something. If she's done that 4 times since the previous game when she mugged Sophie Cunningham,
right.
It's Dejanay Carrington. We're just going to talk about it and complain about her when it's against the Fever and the darling of the league. Now, that being said, the one difference I will say right now between this run, this incredible, because right now the most dangerous backcourt in the league is Kelsey Mitchell and Caitlin Clark, hands down. But if I'm the coach, I want the ball in Kelsey Mitchell's hands for the last shot, not Caitlin Clark. I will say that. And I'm not just saying that just to raise bait, get clicks, clickbait, raise the ire of anybody. Right now, Kelsey Mitchell, but the entire season, the consistency's been with Kelsey Mitchell. I just actually wrote a story for Ball is Life that the MVP race at this point is down to 2 people, and it's Asia Wilson and Olivia Miles. It's going to take an incredible collapse by Asia Wilson to be overtaken by Olivia Miles. Olivia Miles would be the second person in league history in 30 years to win the Rookie of the Year and the MVP. The only other person to do it is Candace Parker.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. Be good company.
How big a gap would the Lynx have to finish with over the Aces for you to consider Olivia Miles? I mean, is it best player in the league or is it MVP? Like, how do you look at the MVP? Is it most valuable player or is it best player in the league? Because the best player in the league, we have her here.
Yeah, I know. I think it's most valuable player to your team. And the thing is you could argue Kayla McBride's having a career year. She's a 13, 14-year veteran. She's having one of the best seasons of her entire career.
Right.
So she's been fantastic. Natasha Howard has stepped up. She stepped up in Nafisa Collier's absence. So that's a well-rounded team that Olivia Miles just blended in and didn't look like a rookie right off the bat. So there's a difference. It's not as if the Lynx did what they did just because of Olivia. She just happened to be perfectly fit for that. You have stated, hey, this is why she should have been number 1. And last week when we talked about AZ Fudd going down, well, there you have it. She wouldn't have been – she'd be just as good. The role would have been different, so we wouldn't have seen the Olivia Miles we're seeing right now.
Updated MVP odds from William Hill. Asia Wilson minus 1,000. Olivia Miles 7-1. I had Caitlin Clark way too high or low, I guess. 25-1. Kelsey Mitchell 25-1. Paige Becker's 100-1. So it's pretty much
Paige has dropped.
Yeah, well, it's pretty clear. It's a 2-person race, and frankly, when you're minus 1,000, it's a 1-person race. So UNLV's playing on Saturday, week 0 game, 5 days until kickoff. They do have some roster questions. We reported on some of these super seniors, the 5 and 5 guys coming back, but Mullen talked about it today when he was asked about their official availability.
I mean, we got a bunch of that. I know we're waiting on a court hearing on Cohen. We have a couple guys that we're waiting on waivers to be approved. We've had the same waiver. The one thing that's really frustrating for us is you have 2 kids in the exact same scenario. One's eligible, good to go. One, we're waiting to see. I thought the NCAA was about helping kids, right? And there's a lot of, I know a lot of the attention gets there's a lot of kids that they could help right now. And attention gets to, this guy's leaving the NFL to come play in college. I don't know that that's right, but. You know what? You're going off the rules, but there's a lot of rules that have already been in cases that have been, hey, this has already been set as a precedent. And yet that rule is okay for this one guy, but the exact same kid in the exact same scenario is still waiting to hear. So Cohen, hopefully we'll hear and get his case resolved soon. We have a couple other players we're waiting on their waivers that are to come back. We've had 2 kids with identical waivers already been cleared. We have 2 other kids with the identical deal we're still waiting on. So hopefully the NCAA can get their act together and get this organized.
So I played that for a reason. 1, it's news. 2, when I heard it, I was like, wait, did I hear that correctly? That actually is breaking news because I was under the impression that Cohen Fuller, the defensive tackle, was all clear and ready to go. The other 2 guys, Terrence Welch and Spellman, are 5 and 5s. Fuller had filed a long time ago, and it was a fight with the NCAA, and then he was part of a court case. The reason the breaking news with Fuller is significant because Donovan Spellman, frankly, he's an edge rusher, super senior, played 239 plays a year ago. He's significant, but they have enough depth at edge that he slots in somewhere as like the 4th to 7th edge. LaTerrence Welch is going to be needed, but it's not vital for this game. Cohen Fuller is going to be a starting defensive tackle on the line, and do they like the guys behind him? Because it's Lucas Conte and Cohen Fuller. That was what was expected. And Mullen just said, we don't know. I was like, okay, I thought we knew. Behind him are Ilya Logo, who's a redshirt freshman, Poe Purcell, who's a true freshman, the Moes, as they call them, Abishur and Altayeb, who are both big-bodied dudes, 290 to 310. But taking Fuller out, who Mullen pitched to Phil Steele as an all-conference guy at defensive tackle, that's kind of a big deal. I know this is very deep-divey for this audience, but if he can't play, that is a significant absence on Saturday against a Memphis team who we don't know how good they're going to be on offense. I know this. They're going to go really fast. They have a lot of new faces. They've got 71 transfers and new players into the program. And here's Mullen talking about, hey, scouting them, we kind of know on the surface what they have, but it's a bit of a mystery.
But, this year's team, you're looking at a lot of the guys came from Southern Miss. They have a lot of big faces coming from all over the place. Those guys had a pretty good year last year at Southern Miss. So I think that's part of it is, they're going to be fired up. Our guys were excited to play game 1, kind of a whole new program, whole new everything last year. They're going to bring a lot of juice, a lot of energy, and they know it's a big game.
Bouncing off of that, Charles Huff, knowing what he did at Southern Miss just 1 year, this guys. I guess how important is it for you guys to set that?
Well, it's huge, and I think so much of game 1's about yourself. There's no film on the team we're playing. I can't watch one play of this.
So he doesn't have a whole lot. That said, I think they have enough. They certainly have enough on the quarterbacks. I think Marcus Stokes is going to be the guy who's going to play the majority of the snaps. Aaron Nolan is the guy who was at Ohio State, and South Carolina. Marcus Stokes is a guy who was committed to Florida but had a transgression away from the field and wound up to West Florida. I was told last week, we played the interview with John Martin. Martin said that NIL for Stokes was approaching 7 figures. I think I might be a little bit high, but that's the guy they paid the most to. So he's been more than competitive in camp from what I hear, so that's going to be their quarterback, I think, Marcus Stokes. But, yeah, the encouraging thing on the Memphis side is, yes, they have 71 new players, but they did bring 17 from Southern Miss. And we've seen this happen in other places. I'm not saying they're going to be Indiana, right? But Indiana benefited the first couple of years with Cignetti because he had a bunch of James Madison guys that he brought with him. They also hired the OC from Old Dominion. That coach brought several ODU players. Now, here's a question for Memphis. It's your first game together. So, like, I'm talking about positives on a season-long haul. Can you pull all of that together in the first game?
In your scouting for this, because you obviously, aside from being out there covering for here, but also reporting, right, or sideline on the broadcast team, from what I'm trying to read, what I've been reading as best as possible to keep up with the other side, the opponent, is that this is going to be a fast team. It's going to be that Memphis is going to, they're going to come in, they're going to move, and it's going to be, you want to better be on its toes. My question to you is, when you have a team like that, like you're saying, under new leadership, right, with Charles Huff, is it better to find the chemistry quicker with a team like that, or a team that's going to play a knuckle-dragging, physical? Because I think the up-tempo style is better suited for new teams, new players coming together than that slow grinded out.
It's a freaking great question. Why don't we ask the real football expert, Caleb Herring, who's on the way? That is a great question. What's better, if you try to grind it out or goes fast with a new group?
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas.
All right, rolling on a Monday. Cofield and Company, Steve and Willie here at ESPN Las Vegas. James is here as well. Caleb Herring joins us at this time every single week. Lots to get into. It's finally here, week 0 of the college football season. So just 5 days away from the game at the Owl, 7 p kick, 6 o'clock with the Ted Weens pregame show with Caleb Herring and Matt Neverett. Caleb, fired up?
I am fired up, Steve. The fight song hits different on game week, right? Like, I feel the juice is flowing here. I'm excited to get some Rebel football back in my life. Legion Stadium should be rocking for Week 0 opener. I think nationally it's going to get a lot of attention, so I'm excited for what's in store this Saturday.
How significant is the TV spot since it's on Big Fox?
I think it's huge. I think there's already some interest with these 2 names for Group of 5 teams. You think obviously Memphis has been on a climb to relevance and trying to crack the code and to playing with the big dogs. UNLV, obviously, in recent years has enjoyed some success, but they've kind of had parallel tracks in this time of the playoffs and the expansion of the playoffs. And of course, through a conference realignment, both of these teams were among the teams mentioned to be taking a step up into the power conference. So I think there is some national interest just to see those names. Then the fact that it's a Week 0 game and everybody's just anxious to get some sort of good college football action. I think this is the matchup that you look at to be that matchup, that anticipated matchup that says, hey, this is how I want to start the college football season off, with a barn burner in Vegas. Let's see if they can put a show on.
Being that it's the 4th year of this resurrection project, if you will, is UNLV now considered going into it, not by us, not by you, not by Steve, do you feel on the national landscape now where 4 years ago, we'd be talking about Boise State, San Diego State in that same conversation? Is UNLV naturally in the conversation now?
I think for a lot of reasons nationally, I would say yes. I think there's a lot of reasons to say it just makes sense for UNLV to be the presumed top dog in the conference, or to be the presumed G5 maybe, or Mountain West at least champion. That presumption is fair from a national landscape. I think internally, though, I would say the difference in this season compared to that kind of national afterthought, yeah, it's Boise's conference. That was kind of what Boise was. I think internally, though, UNLV is in a position where the anticipation of the fan base and those that have been with UNLV for the long haul, I think maybe has a little bit more pressure to it than that national narrative. Because I think that national narrative is still kind of out of touch, as it is with every team. There's no way the national narrative can be intimately knowledgeable about the program. But UNLV fans and those who've been following this program, this is kind of a prove-it year, and you're anticipated to be great. But this is, I think, realistically the first time that the expectations coming into a season were this high. And with that comes a lot of pressure to perform. And we'll see if UNLV is up to the task in 2026.
Yeah, they are the pick, and I'd say at least 40 or 50% of the, I'll say, national experts. A lot of those are content creators, but they're the pick to be the rep out of the group of 6 for the CFP. I mean, those are lofty expectations. But here's the thing. They don't have a quarterback. They've got 2. I think they have a quarterback. I think I know who's going to play most of the plays. But in terms of the battle, because maybe neither kid has been told that he's got the job. I don't think Mullen is going to tell them until pretty close to the game. Can that be a negative? Is it a positive right now this close to the season?
I think there's positives you can definitely draw from it if you know what you're doing. And, I mean, look no further than last season, right? Mullen really had the same sort of mentality about naming a starter, and the Rebels had probably their best season to date. So I think there is definitely a benefit, and Dan Mullen has proven that he kind of knows what he's doing with this situation. Ideally, yes, you'd like to have a guy just be the number one guy. I think every coach would love that, to have a guy that just dominates and it's clear-cut the number one. But if you got 2 guys that you think can run your offense, maybe even 2 guys that run your offense in different ways, I think you want to keep that hope alive as long as possible. I think there's also a benefit to extending the competition to a game week, where you can see how a quarterback prepares on a week-to-week basis and with specific game plans for a new defense, and play calling and scripting for an opponent, as opposed to install your own offense and that kind of knowledge. I think there is value to getting that assessment as well before you make a decision. But I do also think, his third point there, I think that Dan Mullen is being as honest as he can be while not naming a starter and saying that he plans to have both quarterbacks play. I think his system and his understanding of his system and the offensive side of the game, I think allows him to plug and play to a certain degree with every position, including quarterback. And that maybe has shaped his view on who the starter is. He made points of that during his presser, like, hey, if Jet Thomas isn't out there for the first snap, are you going to make a big deal about that? No, because you can plug and play based on the package that's out there, the personnel grouping, what advantages you have or disadvantages you may be going up against with your opponent. So I think he has that level of understanding where even the quarterback could be plugged and played if everybody's on board with that kind of scheme. I don't know necessarily it's a true 2-quarterback system, but he wants to keep that option available as long as possible, at least in the eyes of the public and maybe even in the eyes of his quarterbacks in the room.
Caleb Herring with us, the former UNLV quarterback, one of the he's not one of, he is the analyst on the radio broadcast. He is one of the co-hosts of the Dan Mullen Radio Show, which rolls out this Thursday. It'll be on 4 to 5 in the middle of Cofield and Company, live at Sierra Gold, 2:15 and Jones. I thought a bit of breaking news today I was under the impression that Cohen Fuller, the defensive tackle, was good to go for the opener. He had been cleared by the NCAA, but Mullen laid it out there that the 3 guys, Welch and Fuller and Spellman, are all still up in the air. I think if Fuller were out, that's a very significant absence. I believe they have players who can step up in that spot, but that would put a lot more responsibility on some young guys on the defensive line.
Yeah, I think the defensive line was already an area that we thought in the offseason needed to be addressed, and they addressed it in the form of returners, or at least the hope of guys that will be coming back, and not necessarily going out and grabbing too many big names or anything like that. They kind of just tried to bank on the fact that some of the guys will be back. And as you mentioned, I think Josh Passion on the basketball side has even talked about this and the kind of confusion with the NCAA and the rulings across the nation, which states are doing what and which court rulings affect your player versus those that don't when you thought maybe they should. That's a confusing landscape. And I'm not a legal expert by any means, but I could just imagine the kind of turmoil that causes. You put your chips into the basket, right? And you think that Fuller's going to be available. Maybe give him some reps in fall camp instead of developing a younger guy. And then it all of a sudden backfires in game week that he's not available. That's a very realistic possibility, not just for UNLV, but across college football and college sports in general with the new rules that are rolled out. So we'll see. I think UNLV is kind of prepared as if they're going to be available and are banking on that. And hopefully they are. I'd hate to see a court ruling be the thing that breaks UNLV's back down the stretch or in this game, a big fight in week 0. But we'll see how things shake out.
Yeah, at practice, they've been heavily rotating at defensive tackle. So while Fuller got back in the mix about 2 weeks ago, Logo and Purcell and the Moes have all been rotating in next to and on their own next to Lucas Conte and on their own. So I don't think they'll be ill-prepared for that. It's just that, he's probably going to play a good 30 snaps or more. So now their guys have to step up. We were talking about the Memphis side and the fact that it looks like they want to go fast. That's what the ODU, the guy who came in as the OC, that's his style. Huff likes that style. Willie had a question, what is better for an offense with a bunch of new players? Is it to go fast in game one, or would you actually rather be more methodical and grind it out?
Yeah, I think the thing is, I think it's simpler to go fast. And usually what happens when teams go tempo is the play calling gets simplified. There's not a lot of pre-stop action. Usually when you're going like lightning fast, like ODU and like Oregon in the past, for instance, like you have a lot of calls that are from the same formation you started in, right? So you have success on first down, 5-6 yards, and you're in that same formation for the next 3 plays, just rattling off plays as quickly as possible. And with that, you get simplicity. And there's not a lot of confusing concepts or snap count variants or motions or shifts pre-snap. So it's simpler to install and to learn that fast tempo set of plays that every offense really has. But if you make it your staple, you have probably a little bit more of an expanded package. And if ODU did it, I would assume that, like Mullen said in the pressers, they prepared for some tempo and they're ready for that eventuality if they do decide to take on some of those principles. And I think based on the quarterback, like you said, Stokes, I think he's going to be the guy for them as well because he matches what ODU did as a quarterback. His skill set kind of fits that. I think they will try to do some of that tempo stuff. I personally think it's simpler that way to install an offense. It's just tough to get used to the pace. And if you practiced it, you understand that. But if you just try to roll out tempo game day, you're going to be in for a world of hurt because the mental focus is going to deteriorate fast when those legs start to go. So we'll see if that is the case. I think it is simpler and easier to install a fast-paced style offense because of how it simplifies things up front.
Okay, so what does that mean for UNLV with the defense and what you've seen from training camp?
But I think the early down success, if that's the case, is the biggest thing that UNLV would look to do. I think they gave up a lot of early down success last year. Even on the plays that they did when they got, third and favorable situations, they gave up a lot of back-breaking third down conversions. But I think early down success against a team that decides to go tempo, should Memphis do that, is the key to really blowing up tempo. Because you don't like to go fast and get quick 3-and-outs, right? Like that's always the Achilles heel of these tempo-style offenses, is if you start off and get a negative play on first down, playing behind the chains, you try to go fast, and now you're in 3rd and 12. You don't have a fast call for a 3rd and 12 play. So you naturally slow down, and obviously your packages aren't designed for 3rd and 12. So 3-and-outs are the Achilles heel. So UNLV, early down success, get off the field on opportunities. That will be the key defensively if Memphis tries to go tempo.
7 o'clock kickoff on Saturday, UNLV and Memphis going at it. 6 o'clock with the Ted Weens pregame show. Reminder, 5 to 7, Willie is going to be doing the pregame party over at Whiskey Stadium, so get on over there and grab some of the Mullen menu items. Those are freaking dynamite, and if you want to be crazy, try the Mullen Challenge, which has you eat a lot of food in 15 minutes, and if you do, you get a T-shirt, and that's it. I'm not going to guarantee anything else. I don't know what you might, you'll be good. You'll be good. Okay, so I did a podcast on Sunday with some Memphis dudes, and, they immediately pinpointed something that was the weakness of UNLV last year, and that was the chunk play. They gave up a lot of chunk plays. The back end got torched a bunch of times. You go on shows like that, and they say, hey, how is the defensive backfield better this time around? What do you say?
I say, one, they're deeper. I think, two, I think they're playing in position. I think there's a lot of things that they were asked to do in the scheme in a very, I don't want to call it makeshift because Paul Gunther did come in the spring, so it wasn't like absolutely, but installing a defense takes a lot more than just a spring. But a lot of guys, because of that, weren't fit to the schemes he wanted to employ. There's kind of a little bit, in my opinion, there's a little bit of pushback or ebb and flow with trying to get the guys to fit into a puzzle that they just weren't designed for. I think this year there's a little bit more stability in that regard as far as guys playing in position and being able to play where they're comfortable playing, which is something that Mullen has talked about ad nauseum since he's come, like putting guys where they can thrive on the field. I think that's the case more in the secondary, especially with the depth that they've added, some guys back from injury in the early going, at least compared to last season. I'm in just year 2 in the system. A lot of the guys that are returning defensively are in the secondary. So that, I think, is a key for guys just being more knowledgeable of their fit and their role. And miscommunication was responsible for a lot of those chunk plays. I don't think the miscommunication will be as great this year. Hopefully it doesn't exist at all. And they've got the guys getting guys lined up on the field and not as many coverage busts as we saw last season.
Time for broadcaster bites on a couple of fronts. First of all, the folks at Allegiant Stadium, headed up by the folks at UNLV, always try to do a theme menu for the media. It's very important for the audience to know what we get to eat at the games. Could they roll out something that is of a Memphis theme at the L?
I would hope that they try, and that has been a thing in the past. I think UNLV does a good job of kind of respecting the teams that they host and giving them a taste, or at least respecting their culinary options and trying to give a taste of their home food options. And they've done a good job for the most part. I know you're a fan of the Locomoco whenever Hawaii comes to town.
Oh, yeah.
They've replicated that pretty well. But Memphis cooking is often duplicated. I don't know what the saying is. I might have just messed that up. Often imitated, never duplicated. I think that's it. And so I think that's what Memphis food is. But if you're going to try, again, you better do it right because we got high expectations. Having dined in the South, expect Memphis to be specific. We know what they're all about down there. So Allegiant's got their work cut out for them if they're going to try to imitate that.
I will tell you this. We had gotten word that this year's catering for Raiders media meals would be improved. And I can tell you just after one preseason game, it's 100% on point in terms of improvement. So the fact of the matter is the menus are different. The snacks, where they put in the middle, like for instance, they roll out the whole candy concession stand in the pod with the Raiders games. The UNLV's got their own thing, but it's the same chefs and cooks and whatnot. So wherever they're ordering and getting their foods in for, if they're saying, hey, we're going Memphis barbecue to cater, I mean, I'm expecting to see some barbecue brisket. We're not going to get ribs.
Don't be insane. And yet they can't. Don't do ribs.
Yeah, you can't do ribs.
Ribs are way too risky.
I just said you can't do ribs.
It's got to be pulled pork.
Yeah.
At the minimum, I think that's the safest. I think a brisket is risky.
A brisket
shredded
can be
up
done.
and it's the same. What's the difference between pulled pork and a brisket?
It's totally different.
Totally different.
But it's presented the same.
Nah.
I'm confused at the way that you just said that, Willie, because I think you're a foodie expert and you know better than that. Brisket and pulled pork are not the same thing. I think there's a process to brisket that takes a little bit before you shred it. Obviously, the presentation, you get to the same place at the end, but the slow-cooked brisket is not to be compared to any other meat option or barbecue style. Now, it is risky. I agree with Steve. It is risky. But if you pull it off, which I think the Allegiant staff is capable of pulling it off, you make a statement in week 0. And I think that statement is, I've heard the same rumor that the menu options at least have changed or been enhanced with what they are offering.
Yes.
But UNLV has personnel. I don't want to mention his name. He will remain anonymous just in case he makes the wrong decisions this year. But he makes the decisions and makes decisions accordingly. So I think he will make the right decision. I trust his food taste, but we'll see. Especially, it's a tough test if you're going to try to imitate Memphis at week 0.
Now, for Broadcaster Bites, we talk about the home food. We also talk about our recollections of food when we've gone on the road to these places. You and I and the broadcast team at the time were in Memphis for an Arkansas State game. We were lucky enough to stay in Memphis and not the hellhole that Arkansas State was in. So we got Memphis food. My recollection is barbecue meal. We went to a place called Blue City Cafe. I do remember a sweet autographed picture of Ike Turner on the wall for some reason. Do you remember the food there?
I do remember the food there. I believe I got the catfish and baby back ribs combo, which I was absolutely impressed with because they told me that the catfish was caught this morning, and I've never had that told to me before at any establishment. And obviously they know what they're doing in the kitchen with the ribs. They were, I don't want to say fall off the bone because fall off the bone, apparently in the barbecue community, is actually frowned upon. But they were absolutely tender, juicy. I enjoyed every bite of that meal. The night before that, I actually had a place called Gus's Kitchen, and it is one of the premier spots in Memphis for hot chicken. And let me tell you something. That was the first time I called my mother and told her to step her game up because her fried chicken didn't compare. I'd never had fried chicken that good. I took a risk, but when I told her where I was, my mom's from the South. She's from Mississippi. She understood exactly where I was coming from. So there's that. And again, like I said, if you're going to try to imitate Memphis's cooking, you better bring your A game, because what we ate that weekend was absolutely phenomenal on all fronts.
All right, Caleb. So I obviously, as a broadcaster, you probably have better options, but as a player, right, your meals are prepared or whatnot, but you may have extra days. I'm looking at your game logs. Outside of Mountain West, let's see, you've been to Idaho, you went to West Virginia, you went to Wisconsin, you went to Pullman for Washington State your sophomore year. The next year, you had 3 road games. And then you finished up Minnesota, and then the Heart of Dallas Bowl. I'm going to roll the dice and say that the best meals that you may have had was at the Heart of Dallas Bowl in the final game of your collegiate career.
And you'd be wrong.
Okay,
it
good.
was not.
Good.
I distinctly remember the Washington State trip.
Okay.
They had we get option steak or chicken, and I'm rarely a steak in mass guy. Like if they make a mass vat of steak or a bunch of steak, usually the steak quality isn't good. But I distinctly remember that they had a steak option that was absolutely phenomenal, and they actually introduced me to cheesecake. I was not a fan of cheesecake until college. And I remember on that trip, cheesecake was the only dessert option. And you have to get dessert for the hotel. You take a piece of dessert, eat it there, and then you take one back up to your room for a late night snack, right? That was the first time I had cheesecake and enjoyed it. And that changed my pregame meal for the rest of my career. Cheesesteak was always a part of my pregame. Just to give me that last little calorie boost before game day,
nice.
To make sure I had the energy. So cheesecake became a staple after Washington State. That sticks out to me in my memory.
Caleb, we're up against it. One other memory we won't have time to break down, but we both did perform in front of a decent-sized crowd doing karaoke. And back in 2018, you were better. Again, my poor song choices come to haunt me, and you sang John Legend, and you nailed it. So you're better.
It's all about selection, Steve. All about selection.
See you, buddy.
Cofield and Company presents Grab Bag on ESPN Las Vegas.
Stick your hand in there, dude.
So crazy times, and I know people are panicking about college football and college basketball. These 5-5 seniors who were going to court and challenging, and now we've got a crazy case of a guy who was working to make the Cleveland Browns, Quan Wright, who's going to go to LSU. If he can get cleared. You know Lane Kiffin's all about trolling. It's so funny. Lane Kiffin made some statement about whatever it was 3 weeks ago at SEC Media Day, and he's like, the social media stuff, I'm really going to back off it. You know, it's distracting. Like, you're not.
No.
He lives for this.
Yeah.
And by the way, LSU as a sports department is all about saying F the rules, or we're going to push the rules and test the NCAA, because the basketball program completely went, I don't want to use the word rogue, but they took every advantage of every international guy they could get. They just added Donovan Dent. Remember that name? Point guard from New Mexico, who was all Mountain West a couple of years, went to UCLA. He was done. Court case comes up. He thinks he can play, so he's committed to LSU. And then the right kid as the tight end from the Browns is going to land at LSU. So if you're smart, if you're a coach, you got to play with the times, and you got to keep roster spots open. Because I heard someone else today ranting about, on the football front, if you take a guy like this kid Wright, aren't you going to have to send someone else off the team? It's not always the way it works with a lot of college football programs. They have a couple extra spots. Some. It's weird. I understand. And that this one is really an affront to, I guess, what people think the rules are. But unfortunately, right now, there are no rules. So adding a tight end from the NFL is a little weird.
That part is just, to me, it's like once you've declared and you become, you're done. You can't go backwards. I don't think that's fair.
You would think once you take some kind of compensation from a professional organization, that would be the line. But apparently it's not, especially if you get a local judge. Hopefully this will be the last year of this. And more importantly, as Justin Watkins told us last week, can the NCAA just act like adults and negotiate with the players and make them employees, come up with a collective bargaining agreement, instead of, as he put it, always running to mom and dad, which now would be Congress? No one else is here to save you, NCAA. Just treat the players with respect, collectively bargain, and this can be worked out. And guess what? If you have a CBA and you collectively bargain, the courts will never interfere. They just won't. They don't do that.